Hello, ladies and gentlemen, TikTok bans, Trump supporters, ceasefires, crazy psychopaths, hot chicks, not really, and delusional human beings across the globe. Welcome to another double review. I'm not joined by one person, I'll be joined by another very soon, if she can remember how to plug in her headphones. But welcome, my man Matthew Shelton from Graps TV. We're going to review Collision. We're going to review SmackDown. We're going to do it in case order, so we're going to go by Friday then Saturday. But there's elements of praise, there's elements of criticism, and there's definitely elements of why bother on both shows. But there's certainly some conversations we can have tonight. But how's things?
So far so good. Can't complain. Wouldn't do any good if I did. Hey, look, it's Catherine. She found her headset.
I think she found the way out of Voldemort's cave as well, but we'll see. But yeah,
Oh my goodness.
we've got two TV shows to review, two organizations to ask and debunk questions on. I've got a pay-per-view to watch tonight that's going to be the best thing in January, regardless. So I don't care. There's something for you. Apart from Wrestle Dynasty, this will be the only good thing about this month. But we may as well go long story short before we review SmackDown, before we review Collision. What was your general takes on both shows after they concluded? Matthew, we'll go with you as well. We'll go with you on that one first.
SmackDown does not need to be 3 hours long. There's no way on the planet it needs to be 3 hours long. There is no ROI you're going to get out of this. Hang on one second here. I got to mute myself. I got a call.
That's fine. Catherine's making buzz noises as well. I think she's hitting the bumblebee phase. Whilst Matthew's on the call, I'll dive in yourself, Catherine. Like your initial reactions to both Collision and SmackDown.
I agree with Matthew. SmackDown does not need to be 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was already a chore to watch 2 hours.
Yeah.
I thought Collision was actually better than SmackDown, and that's not saying a whole lot.
Okay. It's a fair take. I'm gonna say something controversial. I thought both shows were in their own way exactly what you were wanting, but for once, I'm not going to pick one over the other. Purely for the sense that, again, both shows had so much clusterfucks in it that it's not even funny anymore. And I think the reality of it is, I know what I'm expecting from WWE. I know sort of what I'm hoping to expect from AEW, but when you genuinely take the piss, then I'm not going to give you any credit. But, like I said, there are some praise I can give from both shows. I can give some genuine criticisms, some hopes I never see again. Then again, I can hope for a lot of things, but it's still not going to happen. I can hope for a one night like moment with Scarlett Johansson or Selma Hayek. It's never going to happen. I can hope for one night that Darby Allin actually doesn't do a stupid diving move that nearly breaks his back. I hope for a moment where Orange Cassidy retires and gets told to fuck off. And then I hope for the day where someone like, what's the nicest way of putting it? Someone like Cody Rhodes gets embarrassed by the Brooklyn Brawler on Saturday Night's Main Event. These are just moments of requests.
Right.
But if I'm being honest, and I always am, I won't pick one over the other. I physically can't. I watched them both this morning. Like the minute I woke up this morning, I watched Collision first because it's 2 hours, it's easier, and then I watched the 3 hours of not really. I didn't watch 3 hours of SmackDown because what I kept doing was every time it came to a break, which is 3 minutes long on Netflix, I just kept skipping them, kept skipping like the little hype videos, skipped the entrances, and it came down to ironically, came down to about 2 hours of content. I'm at the stage for both shows where I could make a list right now of what I would change on AEW and what I would change on WWE right now, and I guarantee both products would be better. No idea what the sound is, but it's funny. But that is what I call the Darby Allin sound. That is a that's Darby Allin breaking himself on steel chairs. Speaking of Darby, the guy, I don't think he wishes he was Jeff. Ironically, I know you're referring to Jeff Hardy. He has that mindset. I think if you ask Darby Allin to his face, I think he wants to be a mix between Sabu, Raven, and Sting.
Yeah, something like that. Sorry
Shame
about that, guys.
Shame he doesn't have the superstar talent of those three, but he certainly thinks like those three. And screw him for talking crap about Kurt. Who though? Like, to be fair, mind you, actually, to be fair, if you do talk ill will about Kurt Angle, then I will put you in a chokehold. But that's different. Matthew, you got a phone call, but you were in the middle of just giving your thoughts. But just your initial reactions to both shows after they concluded.
All right. Well, like I was saying before, SmackDown doesn't need to be 3 hours. They're not going to get any ROI out of that, and they just need to go back to a 2-hour show. Or if Hunter's sweet spot really is 2.5 hours, as reported by every major news outlet when Netflix cut Raw off 30 minutes early,
Yep.
then cut it to 2.5 hours. If that's his sweet spot, then stick with that. Because, I mean, the reality of it is SmackDown had way too much fluff for a 3-hour show and not enough actual oomph. There's not a lot of wrestling on the wrestling show. As far as Collision, actually, there wasn't much I had a problem with on Collision at all because I think everything went according to storyline, and the Christopher Daniels match was off the chains good. I mean, if you understood what was going on in the middle of all that, and even though I did question choosing Hangman for your last opponent, I see what was going on there now, and it made a whole lot of sense. Even the 12-man rocked, I mean, it was pretty good. They both had, I'm going to say SmackDown probably had like 1 or 2 redeeming moments to it. Collision had a lot more to me, but overall, I know who's going to win the ratings war, but I thought Collision was a better show. I just thought it was put together better. I thought it worked better. SmackDown just continues to be the B show now. So if they're going to, at least they've clearly defined what their B show is now. And I guess that's where we're going to be. Raw is going to overshadow it for the duration of that contract and so on and so forth. But those are my takes for that. But, as far as Darby Allin goes, we don't really know him yet. And I think we
do. He's just not where he wants to be.
No, honestly, I don't think we know him. I really don't. I'm gonna give it probably another year if he's still meddling around after he gets back from climbing the Mount Everest and all
the way over here, by the way.
Yeah, so I mean, once he's done that, I would like to see what he puts together coming back, because now I would like to see him be serious, and then we can actually get to know him. I mean, you've seen blips of him, and so far I've watched the 2019 series and everything else I've seen so far. I mean, you're getting blips of him, but you're not getting him yet. And I don't know if that's a slow burn. If it is, it's the slowest burn in wrestling history. But, I don't think we know him yet. I really don't. I don't think we know him.
just replying to these guys in the chat 'cause I'm using my keyboard. Bit fun. I'm going to obviously mixture replies to comments and also type in. There is 10 people watching on YouTube, so thanks, guys. Hope you're all well. Thanks for tuning in. And it was a shit game, mate. These players are worth the same as ECW. Zilch. I've got no interest. I genuinely can't be arsed. Like, I feel bad for the manager. I feel bad for some of these players, but they're pathetic.
That's what
It's
my
like
son
if you
said when he come out of the shower today. He's like, "Mom, how can United beat Arsenal and then lose to these people?" I was like, "I don't know."
Football. It's how it works. If you look up Darby talks about Curtis, she'll show you. You know what? I will look at it. I like Darby Allin, but sometimes he can be a little bit iffy with what he's saying. I've said before about Darby Allin. I said this on a show with Ailey. I can't remember when. I think it was building up. Actually, I know when it was because we were a little bit skeptical about the show, but Catherine will remember it because Catherine just started watching our content at the time. It was the 4 pillars of AEW Fatal 4-Way World Title match. Was that Double or Nothing? It was Double or Nothing, wasn't it?
I believe
MJ.
so.
I believe so.
Double or Nothing last year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I said that I wasn't sure about this Fatal 4-Way because of the way they're going. But if they want to do something smart, then they need to have Darby Allin actually wrestle the way he can, because he can actually wrestle. Because he's done it with MJF. I've said before, like Darby Allin's best match in AEW was probably that Full Gear match with MJF. Like, bar the tag matches, like his best singles match was that match at Full Gear where Darby lost to the Headlock Takeover. But it was Darby Allin actually, he was wrestling like a technical wrestler. He's still got like his classic diving offense in and his risk averse style, but he was still wrestling like a technical talent. And he's not done that a lot since, and I'm not sure why, but it's quite sad really, because that's a testament that he can really do it, but he just doesn't do it enough, which disappoints me. It disappoints me in that way. And then when I look at AEW last night, when I was watching it this morning, and even if I'm watching SmackDown last night, there's talents that do the exact same way of working, maybe not as extreme as Darby Allin, but they try more for the high flying than they do the technical style that they can actually do really well, and they zone out. So I'm not a fan of Carmelo Hayes. I think the guy's a donkey. But when you actually look at his match with the better brother of the Uso clan, when you actually watch that match last night, I'll give Carmelo some praise. He actually works the limbs of Jim Uso really well. And I'm like, where is that? Why am I not seeing this enough? You know what I mean? And the exact same on Collision last night. It was... Yeah, funnily enough, it was the women's match, actually, where I'm like, that's a lot of limb work. But why am I not getting this enough from Julia Hart? And then she's bringing out more submissionals. I'm like, this is what I've been missing. And I disagree with the discourse that she hasn't improved.
No,
I saw that tweet. I'm like, how can you actually claim that she hasn't improved? She was out injured.
They need to go back watch some of her matches at AEW Dark.
She's actually not a bad talent. She's one of the best talents that AEW has from a woman's perspective. And I think that's something that they need to actually grow a grasp on. I said there was praise, I said there's some negatives. The biggest negative I had, I know Catherine's not going to like this comment because, again, she's very consistent with her views, but in terms of actually showcasing talent last night, there was 3 separate women's matches and 2 women's segments on SmackDown last night. There was only 1 women's segment and only 1 women's match on AEW. Now, I'm not point scoring. I don't care about that. I'm not caring about picking one over the other. What I'm caring about is people want to see more of the time being used. So last night, because I was watching Matthew's watch along, I didn't watch Collision. but I was listening to Matthew's commentary, which is great. That entire Max Caster segment, I completely skipped over that, and I was like, I would have put another women's match in here. Like, I would have put Taya Valkyrie, or I would have put Deonna Purrazzo in here, or I would have showcased someone from Ring of Honor like Red Velvet. You know what I mean? Like, I would have completely done all that. No one gives a fuck about the Acclaimed. Not even their family cares. It's time that I'm glad that that's done. We're going to review that segment. But me personally, when I talk about continuity, me and Matthew had a great show the other day about it. Continuity of the show. You want to get rid of folk that generally aren't worth buying time into your company. I would have scrapped that segment and I would just put them in. That's my take on it. That's my preemptive thoughts, if you will. That's my nuclear bomb, more like on both. But again, I'm fair.
Well, the Acclaimed storyline has been building, so I can see why they put it there.
It's not really worth watching, though, is it?
Well, I agree, and we all know that they're kind of the favorites of Tony Khan, so that's why they get put on the show. But we've seen it building that they're eventually going to break up. So, and if they hadn't have put it on, then everybody would have been complaining, well, TK just stopped the storyline and we don't know what's happening with the Acclaim. Not that we really care, but.
And here's where I kind of get off the train on that one. We really needed a public humiliation of Max Caster. We needed that.
Yeah.
I mean, regardless of the fact that it went way too long, it could have just been, pardon my French, it could have been, all right, we're done, get the fuck out. And that would have been it. That would have been perfect.
Say whatever you want. Say whatever you want on here.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what I said on the show last night. Okay, great. Now get the fuck out and let's move on. That's exactly what I just kept saying. Like every 2 minutes, I was like, okay, this is cool. Get the fuck out. Let's go.
Exactly. And I stand by that. I agree to that. I think they missed the trick.
But
when Bowens come out, what Bowen should have said was, you're the reason we have this issue, that we have our issues within the group.
Yeah.
Super kick him, punch him, and then just say, fuck you, and walk out of the ring.
Exactly. I mean, it could have been a really quick segment. You could have got it done in 2 minutes or less.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. My buddy's an Everton fan, so he's just talking about football, but it is good to see you, brother. I hope you're doing well. Guys in the chat, do get your comments in. Do subscribe to Graps TV. Do subscribe to the Mid Podcast as well. If you like alternative wrestling commentary, that's Matthew. If you like a historical vibe in general, that doesn't include pro wrestling, just historical as well, check out Catherine's podcast. She also does wrestling, so do check that out. If you're into American football, go there as well. I'm sure Catherine would entertain conversation with you guys as well about American football. It's plain and simple. You already know the score when it comes to our channel. If you don't like it, that's fine. Just don't abuse anyone on the channel. Don't abuse my chat. Same with the chat. Don't abuse us. We don't abuse you. We'll just take the piss of each other. That's the Scottish way. Yep. Okay. Right then. So I did say we were going to start with. We're doing it in date order, so we are starting with SmackDown. And already. Obviously I did skip the long intro videos because I don't care about that. I want to get straight to what actually matters. So first segment is Rey Mysterio. Rey Mysterio in the ring. I think we kind of expected it in front of his hometown crowd. I think we kind of established that either he's going to be competing, he's going to make an announcement, or you're going to get both. Coincidentally, we get both. We get Mysterio talk. This segment goes for, I think it's about close to 10 minutes. I think. Someone can double check. I don't care about time, and someone can double check it anyway for me. But this did go on for a little bit, and long story short, Rey Mysterio has announced his name into the Royal Rumble. I've got no issue with that. If anything, Rey Mysterio in the Royal Rumble is actually a good thing. He does have star quality. He's still a good worker, and he does help talent get over. That's one thing that he actually, as a legend and a veteran, does better than most. He puts talent over. So far, we have in the Rumble we've confirmed we've got first announced entrant Cena. We've got Roman Reigns. We've got CM Punk. We've got Seth Rollins because he had a bitch fit. We had Drew McIntyre because, again, he's the only one who's speaking facts on Raw. We've got LA Knight. We have Rey Mysterio. I believe there's one or two. I think I'm missing a few more. If someone can remind me who else is in the Rumble.
Every dude of any significance to the WWE is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Let me just go ahead and say like 10,000 more promos coming up. Same thing with the women. Everybody that is of any notability that's seen the ring in the last 6 months, they're in the Royal Rumble.
Can I just say only one person out of the 2 Rumble matches, only one of them has actually made themselves actually showcase they're going to be in it without having to say a damn word, and actually looks cool, and that's someone I don't like, and that's Charlotte Flair.
Yep. Charlotte Flair is going to be in it.
And she's going to win it. I don't like saying it, but I'm saying I have to unfortunately agree with it now. She is going to win the Royal Rumble, and I think, ladies and gentlemen, this might hurt. I think Charlotte Flair is going to win the Royal Rumble from number 3. She's going to win it like Ric Flair did.
I got a really bad feeling that everybody's wrong about this, and fucking Liv Morgan's going to win it. I really do. I have a really bad feeling about that because her social media presence is amped up towards that direction, and I'm just like, if they put her in that spot, they just might as well cancel the women's division.
She just had the title, and her title reign sucked dick.
Oh, of course it did. Of course it did. But that social media presence, we don't care about wrestling in WWE. That social media presence is where it's at. So,
but I can see Charlotte winning, and then Charlotte challenging Tiffany, and we get the Battle of the Blondes. That's what I'm calling it.
Yeah, because everybody was clamoring for that too. I mean, I've just seen it. It's been all over the place. We need a Tiffany and Charlotte match.
I think it makes sense.
Issue with like the Royal Rumble in general. I don't need everybody telling me I'm going to be in the Royal Rumble. I like surprises. Like, give me like 5 or 6 guys that announce they're going to be for the Rumble, and then like the other 24 be surprises.
Yeah. Like, I'm fine with like your top talent announcing themselves. You know, like Cena, Reigns, Punk, McIntyre, Rollins. You know what I mean? Like, they're your. When you look at it in general across both brands, from the men's side, they are conceived as your top talents that are not currently a champion or anything like that. So it does actually make sense for them to be in the Rumble. So I actually am fine with them making the announcement. I'm okay with Rey Mysterio making his announcement as a legacy. The rest of them, again, it doesn't really matter. I agree with you. I think the fact that, I think it was Michael Cole who said on Raw that LA Knight's also in the Rumble as well. I don't want to know that. It's not that I don't like LA Knight. I like LA Knight. It's I want to know if he is in it with actually seeing it. So I do agree. Because also, I've got a feeling as well, and I'm not a particular fan of this, I think they're going to do the same on NXT. Like, you're going to have some random from NXT saying they're going to enter the Royal Rumble, they're going to win it. And I'm like, well, first of all, you're not going to have a chance in the Rumble anyway. And second of all, this isn't the time or the place. But that's the manner of it. So, my dude James says he's got no problem with Rey Mysterio being the Rumble. Neither do I. I've got a funny fact about the Royal Rumble I'm going to bring up tonight, guys. So if you are in for a laugh, wait 5 minutes because you are going to laugh. The guy says, I just watched Misawa versus Kenta Kobayashi, and I think they're telling a better story than Will Ospreay matches I have seen. Unpopular opinion. In fairness to you, I'm a big Will Ospreay fan. But Misawa versus Kenta Kobayashi is one of the absolute best in-ring feuds of the 1990s. Well, late 80s, early 90s. And also further into the 90s as well. It's actually one of the best feuds. I think when you look at it as well, it's I'm not sure. I think from people's perspective, it could be a top 5 feud. For others, it's a top 10. For me, it's actually hitting both, depending on how you clamour it. But I don't think that's a bad thing to generally say. When you look at Will Ospreay, he does have a plethora of great matches, and there's some that really do stand out. but Misawa versus Kenta is literally what his career is inspired on. He's said it so many times. He based his career on Misawa and he based it on AJ Styles. So I have no issue with that comment at all. I don't think Matthew would have that negative, would you? Or even you, Catherine, would you disagree with that in any way? I don't think it's a problem.
No, the only thing I would say to comparing that far back to this close into the present is that there's a lot of things that were completely different in the 80s and the 90s. Fans were more like fans and less like marks. And when they were able to tell more complex stories because there was a better grasp of what was going on. So you're in the age of information now where if it happened 3 minutes ago, that's just old news.
Yep.
So basically everything that these wrestlers, I don't compare era to era because it was a different fan base and it was easier to get better storylines then because you could get more shit in as it is right now. Like they've got to tell the introduction, then we've got to do the build up, then we've got to do the swerve, then we've got to do the payoff to the build up to the swerve, then we got to do the payoff to that. They were able to do all of that stuff without having to walk you down memory lane back then, and they got further with storylines. Our attention spans were longer, the whole 9 yards. So I don't disagree, but I'm saying I also don't compare now to 30 years ago.
I think as well, when you look at it, even like if you're looking era to era, even like the 2000s, like have a more complex variety of work because there's still like more, even though it was for some areas it was starting to dumb it down a bit, you were still catering to an audience that could still understand and grasp what was going on. Nowadays, it's everybody assumes they're right and they get it wrong. And then it's just funny to laugh at them, which is absolute gold. That's why if I was to bring up a feud right now, maybe I reckon you guys would understand the feud. Some of the guys in the chat would, but maybe the vast majority of the internet fan base wouldn't. And I'm going to say that feud right now, Ted DiBiase versus Junkyard Dog in AWA.
That was a solid one. I'll give you another one. I'll give you one. Go ahead, Catherine. You were going to say something?
No, go ahead, Matthew.
I'll give you the one that everybody loved. I'll give everybody one that everybody loved then, hates it today. Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, Starrcade 80, I think it was 85 to 86 and 86 to 87 when it paid off for Dusty Rhodes. Guess what? Everybody loved that. And WWE literally almost fucked up Cody Rhodes' story by running that thing immediately after this last WrestleMania, which was an absolute piggyback on the Ric Flair Dusty Rhodes thing.
That's correct.
The previous WrestleMania where Roman Reigns goes over, this WrestleMania where Cody Rhodes goes over, this time lots of people were hating on that. They're like, well, it took too long, finish the story, blah, blah, blah. Back in the 80s, everybody loved the feud when it was Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes. And it was literally almost an identical feud between Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, and everybody hated it.
Well, that goes back to the attention span.
Yeah.
Generation today does not have the attention span that we had as children watching, because that was my childhood, was the Dusty Ric Flair feud. So
which is great.
They don't have the attention span, and WWE has programmed them to be spoon-fed, so everything is this, and this, and we can't deviate from this.
Right.
Here's a great example, folks. If you've never seen these feuds before, but you want to see how they actually got to it, there's a YouTube channel that I recommend hitting up, and I do watch this from time to time for great stuff. It's a great YouTube channel, and you can watch a great variety of content across the wrestling landscape. This includes current, it includes 80s, 90s, 2010s. It's not just WWE based. It's NWA, WCW, New Japan, TNA, and also WWE.
Right.
The channel's called TH14. And you mentioned Starrcade. Well, here's Starrcade 84 and 85. Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair. those are full-length feature videos. There's a 43-minute video, and there's a 1 hour 26-minute video. The channel's called TH14.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this guy's content is some of the best you'll see, and it's the full-on, it's the promos, the in-ring work, who they worked with, the whole build-up. It's genuinely incredible stuff. So if you've never watched this channel before, guys, I really do recommend it. It is incredible stuff, and it's worth its value. So I do recommend checking that out. I just want to before I get to James's comment, I just want to say thank you to Jack. Can't tell who the player is though. Any idea who that is? Because I can't tell. I don't watch a lot of American football.
I can't see.
What, Jack Wabi?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't see who
No
he has.
idea. I can't see that far. He's coming in from Twitch anyway.
Which is a great platform.
Yep.
Even
I
James
can't
knows
see
as well.
Twitch.
Even James knows he loves his videos. Like it's great stuff. Like he deserves it. 100%. This is going on the back of our comment about the Rumble. This is what Catherine. So it's directly to yourself in the sense of the response. 100% fine having with 5 or 6 competitors announcing they're in the Rumble, both men and women's. Like Catherine said, one surprise, maybe 1 or 2 from TNA. You're gonna get that. Like long story short, you're gonna get, I would say, 2 talents.
One of them's going to be Joe Hendry, and I'm not sure of the other one.
It's
It'll
going to
be
be Joe Hendry and
Nick
probably
Marsha
Maybe-
I'm going to guess either Moose or Josh Alexander.
it won't be Josh Alexander.
It'll be one in the men's, one in the women's. I think it'll be Masha Slamovich continuing the championship appearance. I think he'll be the Knockouts champion appearing in the world, like potentially either the world champion or losing opponent. So you could potentially see either Joe Hendry or Nick Nemeth. Which
Joe Hendry or Nick Nemeth would be. And to be honest with you, I don't even think you'd see Nick Nemeth. Otherwise, he's walking back an awful lot of what he said since he left.
Yeah.
So I can't see him being there because that would be walking back a lot of what he said about WWE after he left. So
You know who I would actually like to see in the Rumble if he does appear? Ace Austin.
that wouldn't be a bad catch.
No, that wouldn't
I
be
don't
bad.
think you
I'm
get
going to stick with Moose,
that
though. I'm going to stick
Moose
with
would
Moose
make sense.
because Moose is a big man.
Yeah.
Moose would make a lot of sense as well. It would be interesting to see a lot of people get have spear fests. The guy says the Big Show and Mark Henry had a great feud, in my opinion. That Money in the Bank feud. I mean, to an extent, yeah. The problem is the Big Slow couldn't work at this point. So Mark Henry was in the best year. Was in literally the best work of his career. He was carrying this feud. But for me, the feud picked up when it got to Vengeance. It got better Vengeance, in my opinion, than it did Money in the Bank. But this feud was 5 years too late. This should have happened in 2006 when Mark Henry had just taken out Batista.
Mm-hmm.
Big Show was on the wrong brand anyway. Big Show shouldn't have been on Raw. He should have been on SmackDown. And then the minute they put him on ECW, it was pointless because Mark Henry had literally no one else to work with apart from Rey Mysterio and, well, we saw that Rey Mysterio and Batista. He had no one else. Nobody else wanted to work with him, which is stupid because Mark Henry for me between 2006 and 2008 was one of WWE's best heels.
Yeah, he was.
Underrated as well. I think at times his work was a bit clunky, but that's, like, to be fair, when you're that weight, anyone at that weight, to be honest, at times are going to be very clunky. That's just a normal thing. But Mark Henry for a big man was probably, for that period as a heel, I don't think anyone was on his level in WWE because they tried it with Viscera. When he was repackaged to Big Daddy V, it didn't work. The Great Khali was an absolute disgrace. And the Big Show had more heel turns than nuns were on their knees praying. So it genuinely had no compound to it. So I will give you that. Mark Henry should have had more than what he got. Like, there's something about Mark Henry that I don't understand why he didn't get enough.
Well, his creative was horrible too. So I mean, he succeeded in spite of bad creative. I mean, it was he succeeded way beyond how horrible the creative direction was for him. Pretty much 24/7, 365. Occasionally, they'd let him go out there and be a big bad guy, and then other days he was fathering a hand. So it's like, where do you go with stuff like that? I mean, as far as him being clunky or anything like that, I'd be clunky too if I had to fight cinder blocks coming at me every 5 minutes, because that's what his creative was. But
Yeah, well, yeah, it was.
Also, also, he was the first one to ever negotiate a contract with guaranteed money in it. So a lot of the boys were pissed off at him and didn't want to work with him.
that too, yeah.
To Mark Henry, yeah,
Yes.
yeah, but that's because he actually valued himself more than they did. When you actually look at it, there's an interview that Mark Henry had, and he literally went to Vince, because I think it was after, yeah, that's when it was. It was after he lost the title of World's Strongest Man. Legitimately, he lost that title, and he went to Vince. I'm not having this. He's like, I'm not having this. I'm going to do it. And he was told, well, if you don't win this, don't come back. And he said, well, I am going to win it. And then they repackaged him into a heel, and he was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, actually, to be fair, this is another thing as well that I don't understand. How people didn't buy into Mark Henry before we carry on with SmackDown. How can you not buy into Mark Henry when he had one of the best world title matches with somebody that perhaps he shouldn't have even been in the ring with? His match with Kurt Angle at the Royal Rumble is one of the best matches I've ever seen. And that's not saying because it's Kurt Angle, but it's just Mark Henry's brilliant in this match.
I think it was a snowball of all the bad creative heading up to that, though. I mean,
There was, yeah.
I mean, when you look at it, like I just said, I mean, he had a whole lot of good moments as a heel, but then you still got to get past the fact that he gave birth to a hand with Mae Young.
Yeah, that was embarrassing.
That's, I mean, after that, he was pretty much, I mean, he could have come out there with halos hanging over his head and angels flying over him, and nobody would have got behind him. Vince knew how to low key bury somebody while promoting him at the same time. It was a trick and a talent that Vince had. He could promote you and bury you with the same pin. And that's
quite literally.
And like I said, that's kind of like when you're I mean, for an instance, China, she got put over and buried all with the same pin.
World Championship, number one contender, then the IC champion.
Yeah, I mean, and then really, if you want to be honest, Jeff Hardy was buried and put over with the same pin.
Agreed.
I think 90% of his demons were having to sort through half of the creative bullshit that he had to work through, and so on and so forth, not thinking. You go to a job assignment, you have a mission, you have a job description, and you follow that job description to get to that mission. You were coming in during that time when Vince McMahon was just like, let's throw everything at the wall,
Mm-hmm.
And
there's big elements to it. There's a controversial way around it, and I think that is one way. But interesting comment from the guy, though. He says, I think the Big Show was a better performer in the 2010s than Kane. He had matches against Sheamus, Roman, and Braun. And Braun had his most underrated match with him. I do see your take, but I'm going to throw a spin at you. Kane's the best big worker WWE's arguably had for his entire career, except for corporate Kane. Like when he was actually packaged as Kane. I think, and obviously I'm not discrediting The Undertaker here. Great big man. He's by far their greatest character. But when you look at levels of consistency, not many comes close to Kane's level across his entire run. And also when you look at Kane as well, Kane in the 2010s had a fantastic trilogy of world title matches, ironically with The Undertaker. coincidentally with the Undertaker. He had a great feud with then Edge, now Adam Copeland, for the world title. He had a great comeback feud, even though I'm not a fan of the guy. He had a great comeback feud with Cena when he came back as Mass Kane in 2012. Then he went into a feud with Randy Orton, which was actually better than I thought it was going to be. I wasn't sure if it was going to work, but it was actually really good. And then he had that feud with the Goldface Troll himself. So it actually does. I think when you look at it, there's more to it. And also as well, I think when you look at talent that he put over, I think Kane put over more talent than the Big Show ever did. In my humble take, I think he put over more talent than the Big Show ever did. Not discrediting the Big Show. The Big Show actually does have some good matches in his locker. He does have some great feuds. But I don't think on a level, even the 2010s, I don't think he was on Kane's level anyway. Kane could still move. He could still work like a giant. But he still was able to work effectively. So I would say even the 2010s, their best big men was Kane, The Undertaker, and Braun Strowman. And Mark Henry as well. Sorry, four best big men they had. I would even put Big Show in that category. But each to their own, that guy. Each to their own. Back to this. So Rey Mysterio in the ring. I'm in the Rumble in front of my home fans, in front of his daughter, who surprisingly quite liked to smile. What is it with Rey Mysterio's kids? I did say there were some bad ones in there. There is some bad ones. That match is horrible.
Everything at Crown Jewel is horrible. I don't particularly care what year it is. There's going to be a lot of horrible at Crown Jewel. That's a phone in for the 50 million show right there.
Exactly.
Every single year they phone it in for that 50 million. And to say he had a bad Crown Jewel match, everybody in WWE has had a bad Crown Jewel match. I think even the floor sweeper ones. Yeah, I mean the floor sweeper had a bad match at Crown Jewel. Okay.
Well, that's basically the Saudi Prince thing. I want XYZ on the show, and I don't care who they fight.
Just don't kill the talent. Although Goldberg did not get that memo. He had other ideas. We get Rey Mysterio's obviously in front of his home crowd. He is bigging up the crowd. That's fine. I've got no issue with that. Hometown boy. We then get he confirms in the Royal Rumble. Great, no problem. We've already had that discourse. We then get the outcomes. Kevin Owens with arguably the funniest T-shirt I've ever seen. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that T-shirt wasn't about himself. That's a dig at Cody Rhodes, isn't it?
Yes, Dusty Rhodes used to have a shirt that said "The American Dream, son of a plumber."
Yeah, I haven't seen that because I haven't seen that shirt in years. So I was trying to remember where I'd seen it before, but I was like, I know I've seen that somewhere. Oh wait, never mind, Cody. This is definitely Dusty. Brilliant. And yeah, I'm gonna give him his flowers because I said going into Bad Blood and then Saturday Night's main event, if they had no clue what they're doing with Kevin Owens when they turned him heel, then I'm going to start asking questions. And I've been very consistent with that. I have knocked him a lot, but I did praise him for the package pile driver because, to be fair, anyone doing that to Cody Rhodes deserves praise because he didn't do it hard enough, but he should have. I actually like what he did here. I don't know about you two, but I actually like the fact that KO has come out and he's basically just dismissed Cody Rhodes as WWE champion. Like, he's embraced that delusion because he carries the Winged Eagle belt, which, even though it's the WWE's knockoff, it's not the WWF version because, again, you'll never see the real version again. It's just a very good, expensive replica. I like the fact that he is using that to declare himself the true champion, similar to like what happened with Flair and Hogan in '91. Like, who's the real world champion?
Right.
It is actually what this is. If people actually want to look at this, Ric Flair is the world champion. Hulk Hogan is the fraud, but he is the WWE champion. In this circumstance, Kevin Owens, the heel, Ric Flair, the heel, he's declaring himself the real champion. Cody Rhodes is the recognized WWE champion. And he's been completely dismissed by Kevin Owens. And I like the fact he got offended by Rey Mysterio when Rey said, if I win the Royal Rumble, I'm going after the champion, but it's not you. I am actually going to give the flowers to that one line, because that is a good way to flip the heel over the edge. They haven't done that for Kevin Owens, in my opinion, in months. Like, they haven't actually gave him something to get actually, besides the bloodline bollocks that he's been stuck in. They've never gave him an actual reason to have anger and delusions about something else, and now he's actually been reminded he's not the real champion.
Right.
And I actually like that, because I've seen it in other companies do it, and they actually do it really well. And for once, I can praise a segment and say no more. But what about you? What did you think of that segment? I thought it was probably one of the better segments they've done. It's probably his best segment in fuck knows how long. You can disagree. This is not North Korea.
I
I
like the segment. Thought it
Mhm.
could have been cut in half. It didn't
That's
need
fair.
that long.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've always liked Kevin Owens, and it seems like Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre are the only two people that actually see the bloodline for what the bloodline is,
Exactly.
which I think is now the new story for the bloodline, because they can't write anything else.
Yeah. This segment could have been wrapped up in 5 minutes or less. And to what Catherine said, they've built a story now that they can't even diffuse themselves. Usually when the talent gets in the ring and starts shitting on something like that,
Yeah.
that's creative trying to tell the fans, we want to shut this storyline down and we want you to hate it. And
Yes.
we're going to use a variety of people to try and get you to hate it.
It's not working.
And it's not working. That's the whole thing of it. So I'm wondering if somewhere in creative land, they're sitting there throwing pencils at the wall and going, we're just going to have to drop the angle because nobody's going to let it go.
Yeah.
We can't kill it. We can't kill the angle. We've tried to kill it with, now this is like the 4th or 5th. It's
always innings. I think we're in the 6th inning now or something. I haven't got a clue what it is now.
I don't give a damn what inning we're in on that thing. As far as I'm concerned, we're in the 15th inning. It's way overplayed. But even with WWE trying to cool it off, they've created something they can't kill, and they don't have any more creative direction for it to keep it going forward. They deserve it. They deserve it. After 4 years of this horse shit, they deserve it.
They're stuck in a there's a weird comparison that I've got for them. I'm actually going to use a TNA angle that was absolutely dog shit, and a WCW angle that was utter dog shit. So I'll start with the WCW one first. This is the latter half of when the NWO had completely dissolved. So now, when I bring these up, guys, if you remember these factions and who was in them, praise to you. Because, not going to lie, they fumbled this one huge, WCW, because if you remember Vampiro...
Oh, they blew that one bad.
Great in Lucha Underground. Great matches with Pentagon Dark. Just saying. WCW 2000, before we got to Bash at the Beach, Ric Flair had won the World Championship for the 14th time. With his long hair, the guy thought it was 1985 all over again by growing his hair out. But WCW had two factions, the New Blood and the Millionaires Club. The Millionaires Club only had three talents worth watching: Sting, Booker T, and Diamond Dallas Page. No one cared about Kevin Nash in 2000.
Nope.
No one cared about Hulk Hogan.
Mm-mm.
No one cared about Ric Flair, even though Ric Flair was still WCW all the way through, despite having a brief years in WWE in the early 90s. And then the New Blood, the only people they cared about in the New Blood, in my opinion, was Billy Kidman and Vampiro.
Mm-hmm.
And to an extent, maybe Jeff Jarrett. Until Eric Bischoff went, actually no, and we know Eric Bischoff's judgment with Jeff Jarrett's always been wrong. But the rest of the factions, they were completely swamped, and it went on for so long to the point that they were forced to bring back Goldberg and Scott Steiner to actually just diffuse both factions.
Right.
That's how bad the booking was for the Millionaires Club and the New Blood, which is a shame, because when you look at that whole thing, the Great American Bash, there's only one good match for the entire run, and for me, that's Sting versus Vampiro, when they had the Inferno match.
Mm-hmm.
That was the best match that WCW did in all of 2000. That's how fucked up this company was in 2000. The TNA angle that was absolutely horseshit until eventually they backed out. I think everyone can guess which one I'm going to say.
Aces and eights.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Because they only had one talent in that faction that was actually worth watching, and they fumbled him huge. And that's Wes Briscoe.
Yeah, he was worth watching. He was worth watching. They continue to fumble him huge.
Exactly.
Well, the only problem is, at least WCW had somebody they could bring in to cool off those other factions. WWE has nobody. We're stuck with this bloodline storyline forever.
I think the worst. I agree, purely because of one thing you said the other day in one of my shows. Because again, it was in Matthew's show last night, and I haven't watched it, and you said there was one segment in particular that stood out, but that's because of one talent. And you said Jacob Fatu, and we are going to come to his segment very soon. But long story short, we do get Mysterio versus Kevin Owens announced for later in the show, and Cody Rhodes pulls up. Kind of sus, in a way, saying he's been past clear medical bill of health. We know he's bluffing, but that's purely because he's a babyface. You want to get the crowd on your side. What do you? That's a question and a half. What do you think of Mike Awesome? I think he was slightly overrated because he had no psychology. What I see. Okay, that's a bold statement. I personally disagree.
Very bold. That's a bold statement.
I will say this. I will give you the props on no psychology. In the WWE at that time, or the WWF, Mike Awesome was going from pillar to post from his book, and it didn't work. But he was actually better booked. Weirdly, this is Paul Heyman's booking for you. This is why I know Paul Heyman's absolutely delusional at times. He had the entertainment of Mike Awesome, the WCW wrestler, as the ECW champion, losing to Taz, the WWE wrestler that never got booked anyway in WWE properly. He was actually better booked in ECW, Mike Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But psychology in most places, no, but overrated, yeah. His power bombs were good though. His awesome power bomb is, in my opinion, very underrated. But in terms of the overrate, yeah, he was one of the unlucky ones for bad booking. Same with Chronic. I don't know how you can fumble Chronic. They were a very good tag team.
Yeah, they managed to fumble that one. But yeah, I mean, as far as was anybody really clamoring for Rey Mysterio and Kevin Owens? I mean,
Not
did you
really.
wake up? Did you wake up this morning and go, damn it, my life would be complete if I just had Kevin Owens and Rey Mysterio on my screen, grappling left and right, doing them holds and 16 619s, about 6 power bombs, and couple stunners. I mean, did we wake up this morning and go, damn, I'm looking forward to that? I didn't.
Not really, no. I didn't really. To an extent, I thought the match was okay. I think it really essenced that. I think another thing as well, I think they're trying to get away from Kevin Owens using the stunner as a finish. I think they've realized that actually it's time to go back to the pop-up powerbomb. I think they've come back to the realization. I think personally he should be winning matches with the package pile driver, but I mean, what would I know? But
here's my whole problem with this. You're in his hometown. You have an established line of heat.
Yes.
You have an established line of heat between him and Dom. Why not cook up an angle? Like, why not do one of those transfer portals? That bullshit. Bring him over for one night. Cook that angle for the hometown. Send everybody happy. I mean, these are the things that are just booking obvious points here.
Massively agree, because I would have had Dominic Mysterio destroy Rey, and then immediately stand over him. Stand over him
right there.
Yeah, and then I'd have him stand over Mysterio's prone body, and I would say, well, if you're in the Rumble, I'm in the Rumble. Tease the WrestleMania rematch. I think it's quite obvious.
Just write themselves if you know how to write them.
Like, I think it's quite obvious. We know this year. I think this is Rey Mysterio's last year. I think this is last year as next year. You can tell that Mysterio wants to do business. He wants to put his son over. Last year he got the win beforehand as a novelty. It's a good thing that he got that big moment. But he wants to do business. Will they? I don't know.
But I mean, he can't do business this year anyway, because as we know, the one, the only, the golden plowshare himself, John Cena, is going to run his 2025 "You're not going to see me anymore and thank God for it" story. So I mean, Rey Mysterio can't retire this year, so he's just going to have to retire next year, I guess.
If and when he does, I hope it's either it's in his hometown or it's a big match at pay-per-view. The guy says Stevie Richards. To be fair, Stevie Richards gets heat for anything. Stevie Richards has got heat for saying Mike Awesome, and I'm assuming this is meant to be Tatanka had no psychology and he was completely right, and then people are snowflakes.
I think psychology is in the eye of the beholder too, and that's just something you've got to. Once again,
not everyone in pro wrestling has psychology though, because then again, those psychology was for the in-ring generals.
To an extent, but that word right there, I classify in the same category as aura. Everybody screams, "Oh, look at that aura! Look at this, and look at that, and look at the other." I'm like, that ain't aura, man. He's got to take his shit.
Only one wrestler. I'm gonna say this. This is my controversial take. Only one professional wrestler in the entirety of professional wrestling had proper psychology. Bret Hart.
Hang on a second. I got a call coming in again.
I'll mute you. Don't worry. I'll mute you. Only one person for me in the entire pro wrestling had in-ring psychology, and that was Bret Hart. I think Kurt Hennig or Angle would come close. Maybe Ric Flair, but I think purely consistent manner of the term in-ring psychology, for me, it's him. Master title. He was crap. fair enough. Masto Tanka. I thought you meant Tatanka, but Masto Tanka was crap. Genuinely one of the worst wrestlers I've ever seen. But hey ho. He's off the call.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
off the call again. I missed part of that because I was actually listening. So
no, you're fine. You're fine. I said the only ones who had the meaning of the word psychology was Brett at the best, and then maybe Flair, Angle, and Perfect. Maybe Macho
Flair
Man
was good.
another one, but if you think in-ring psychology, the only one that actually stands out is Bret Hart.
Well, actually, if you go down through it and you grade them properly, if I went from top to finish, the best in-ring psychologists, Dusty Rhodes was one of them. You'd have to give him in-ring psychology because he could work it up. Ric Flair.
Oh, that's a see. I would agree with Dusty Rhodes, but I would also disagree at the same time because actually no, I forgot another one on Bret Hart's level. Yeah, Jake Roberts.
That's where I was going as well. See that whole crowd back in the mid '80s,
the golden era,
the late '70s, mid '80s. They all had it because you had to have it because only 3 or 4 guys every week got to talk.
Yeah.
So you didn't get promo time, so you had to tell your stories in the ring.
Correct.
So anybody that says any of that entire crowd was like, oh, I don't see it, I don't see it, I don't see it. They didn't have sets. They didn't have vignettes. They didn't have long promos. They didn't have 15-minute intros back then. Ric Flair, Dusty Rhodes, occasionally they'd let Ronnie Garvin talk, and then they let Ivan Koloff talk, and then his little nephew would come in with his 2-second Shikota, and that was the end of his promo right there. So you had to tell it. So I would say most every one of them had it because they had to have it. Rocky King had ring psychology.
There's something about so I was just checking an extension. What this is for? Still one of the best names you're going to find on YouTube. I'll say this, Scott. WWE did activate an extension on his contract, but I believe, AJ Styles' contract was supposed to expire this year. It's supposed to expire this year, but I believe an extension was triggered, and I think he may sign a new contract maybe for another 2 years.
God, I hope not.
And they may add injury time.
I'll tell you anyway, AJ Styles, if he does leave WWE, he's only going one place. He's
TNA.
only going one, and he'll retire in TNA.
Yeah, that's where he needs to retire.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm hoping he drops this deal now as soon as his injury time's up, because he picked up some injury time for recent stuff. Yeah,
which is normal.
They have nothing for him in WWE, and he just needs to come to terms with that and just go back to where it all started and retire properly.
Yep, I think he will. I think AJ Styles will be at Slammiversary as well. And then I think he'll get a Hall of Fame or the TNA Hall of Fame induction at Bound for Glory this year. I can generally see that happening. With what I can see, Styles' contract was due to expire this year, but there is an extension. I can't see anything. I can't see anything else, and I've looked through the fraudulence like Frightful and all that, so I can't find anything from them. To be fair, the good Fightfuls, there's some of them that are good, but that's the guy who went to Body Slam, which is even better. I can check actually bodyslam.net, AJ Styles. 2 seconds.
I'm blocked by everybody from Fightful, so yay me.
When do you guys want to start on the Catherine? Since you've got a hatred for women's wrestling, I'll let you go on this one. Women's tag, the first of 3 women's matches on the evening. Women's tag match for the tag titles. What's your take on it? Well, it's not even tag titles actually, it's just a tag match. Waste, but go on.
Did I really need this on my TV? No.
Does for Nia Jax. More Nia Jax, please.
Well, I mean, I will give Naya her flowers. She has improved since coming back, and I've actually enjoyed watching her on TV since she's come back. But did I really need this? Did it move any storyline? Are we any closer to seeing who took out Jade?
She's already in the ring.
Well, I mean, we know that, but I mean,
Jade took out Jade when it gets down to it.
Sympathy vote. There'll be a funny swerve if it is Jade. I think it's Bianca Belair anyway. She needs to turn heel. I've been saying it for like 2
they'll
years.
never turn Bianca heel. They will never.
John Cena.
She's going to be a John Cena. She will be a babyface for life because, and this, it's funny because this kind of will play into my dissertation for my PhD. But they'll keep her babyface for life because she is a role model to young black girls.
Yeah, she's not ever going to be a heel. That's never. They say never in wrestling. I'm definitely saying never on this. And
well, in that case, she needs to drop her. In that case, then, as I've been saying, then if they don't turn her heel, then they need to drop the EST gimmick because you can't be someone as cocky as that with all those claimed accolades and be a babyface.
But I mean, she can back up those accolades, though. That's the difference.
Yeah, see, her accolades on her outside of wrestling. So I mean,
she was a track star for the University of Tennessee.
Yeah, she has accolades outside of it, but
I agree. But if someone is on my TV booking every single show saying I'm the fastest, the strongest, all that shit, it doesn't come across. I've said it since day one when she got into NXT. That's not a babyface gimmick. Not for me. For me, that's a heel gimmick. That's someone outrightly saying they're better than everybody in such a manner that comes across as a heel.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how you can present it in that way as a babyface. You know what I mean? Like, it's actually one of the hardest gimmicks to come across. I mean, that's why I give Bianca Belair so much credit. Like, that's why I give her so much credit for how much of a worker she is. Because that shit's hard to pull off.
Okay.
Is Candice LeRae still the women's speed champion?
Is this a burner account for JD from New York?
Yeah, she's past 100 days now as women's speed champion. I thought that Jordan Grace should have been ahead of Toni Storm. Well, to be fair, Jordan Grace was in the top 3 for women last year, so I can understand that. For workers, like, actually no, that's harsh. She was in the top 5 because last year, if you're looking at women in general, it's Rhea Ripley, it's Sari, it's Stephanie Vaquer, it's Toni Storm and Jordan Grace. So I think that's just your 5 in general across the landscape.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's okay and all, and I think Jordan Grace is a good wrestler, and I think she's a good persona. But as far as being an all-around rounded character or something like that, I mean, she's a good worker. She's a good powerhouse. I'm not putting her. Her mic skills aren't even in the same stratosphere, planet, hemisphere, or anything with Toni Storm. They're not even in the same book. They're not even in the same library.
Toni Storm's not even the best women's mic worker.
She's one of the, and she can work in the ring too. See, that's the part of it right now.
Oh yeah, she absolutely can.
She's going to get this rookie gimmick over so much, people are going to wonder why she didn't win Rookie of the Year. That's going to happen by the end of the year. It's going to happen. Trust me.
I think that I don't know. I'll be surprised if it does go the whole year.
I mean, I like Jordan Grace. I like Jordan Grace. Don't get me wrong. I think she's a phenomenal athlete, and I think she's a great worker, and I think she's been a great champion. She's the champion TNA needed for that title.
Yeah.
But no, I can't get with that one. Some of those takes I can kind of go, yeah, I can see where you're coming from. This one right here, no, I don't see that one. And that's not a bias.
The picture that Chris Van Vliet put out with him interviewing Jordan Grace, she actually looked like a man in that picture. Like, that picture did her no favors. Normally, I think she's like a very beautiful person, and I've seen her in person.
Yeah.
That picture made her look like a man. That I literally did a double take.
Mm-hmm.
And also, for our U.S. listeners, TikTok's back.
I mean, that was
the TikTok ban lasted longer than Chelsea Green's Royal Rumble appearance.
Yeah, everything lasted longer than Chelsea Green's Royal Rumble appearance. I didn't think TikTok would stay down that long because
it's a popular it's a popular application.
Never play politics with social media platforms. It just never works. So, I mean, they were playing politics with this thing, and somebody probably tapped somebody on the shoulder and said, "We thought you were kidding, but this is kind of fucking stupid what you just did. You might want to turn it around real quick before everybody gets voted out of office here, okay?"
And also, why would you ban TikTok anyway? There's actually no harm with TikTok.
There is on the back end of it. I understand the argument quite well.
I mean, I don't like some of the trends though, like some of the weirdo trend stuff, but I post wrestling content on there.
You do,
but some of the data,
the way the data is collected and everything.
Yeah, the data collection. So I can.
I'm just lucky they've got.
My whole thing is there's other important things to worry about than TikTok.
Yeah, I mean, I get both sides of it. I get it, but banning TikTok was got to be up on the top 3 of dumbest things that any politician could do in this current day and age. The only thing I think that would be even worse is like showing up at a Diddy party or something like that. That's the only thing you could do that was worse than this.
I don't know. They might be some that are on that list we don't know about.
Exactly, but it's just, but and I had to go back and watch some of this stuff because I was cutting an interview for the first hour and a half of SmackDown. That's how interested I was in it. I was cutting an interview with a wrestler during the show. To your point earlier about WWE leading off with 3 women's matches for the show, and in contrast, AEW doing 1. You didn't need this match. It doesn't forward a storyline. It's filler, and it's the even worse than, I mean, as far as saying having matches for the sake of having matches is having no matches.
Which is true.
And I will say the Collision women's match was better than any of the women's matches on SmackDown.
And it meant something. It meant something.
To an extent, yeah. But I don't particularly like most of them, but I think to an extent saying one of them didn't matter is maybe a bit harsh. I'd say the main event certainly meant something. And then again, the
main event meant something. Yeah, I mean, the main event meant something, but that was different. You had a title behind it and everything else. But going out there and wrestling just for the sake of saying, that would be like me throwing, or that would be like one of us. Just randomly talking about GCW just to say that we covered some GCW content.
Absolutely.
And not really tying it into the story or anything. GCW, Hammerstein, blah, blah, blah. Let's talk about that for a couple of minutes. And it doesn't tie into what we're doing. It's just filler. Yes. We didn't do GCW any favors, and I don't think WWE, I about called them WCW, WWE, I don't think they're doing the women any favors by just throwing them out there in the ring to say, look, we've got more women's content.
I think
they're doing that just for the backlash, because if you go on social media, everybody's hollering, we want women's matches. We want women's matches. Mm-hmm. So they're just throwing them out there instead of actually giving you good women's matches. And also, they really don't have any good women on their roster.
They don't have any good stories right now is the problem. I didn't even really dig the Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan thing because that's a rehash of a 16-time rehash of a 12-time rehash. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's nothing compelling about two chicks fighting over some dude that I wouldn't even look twice at. Okay. As far as his significance or importance in life, you got 2 chicks fighting over a dude that's just so irrelevant and a bootlicker to begin with.
That's true.
Okay, so that makes it absolutely valueless. Then what else are they fighting over? Oh, the title that's going to belong to either Becky or Charlotte. Ridiculous.
Good point. That's a good point.
Can I just keep going on and on and on about this? So what you've got is you've got women's content. Hoorah. Wow.
I think there should be, like, I've always believed that a balance should be there. Like, I've never once disputed that. There should be an absolute balance. But when people moan, and this is where I'll support said arguments, when people moan about not getting enough, or you can't develop any storylines, or you can't develop good match points, because they're not actually physically putting them on TV. And they should be doing more to get them on TV. This is across the landscape. I called out for TNA on Thursday. TNA didn't have a single women's match on the Go Home Genesis show. They had a good segment between Masha and Rosemary, though, which I am actually glad for. That furthered their match for Genesis. But there wasn't even anything from them, like, in the ring. You know, like, there wasn't anything else to, like, back it up. You got, to an extent, you got the segment between Blanchard and Jordan Grace. Jordan completely nuked her one in the ring. That's fine. That furthers their storyline, but I think you certainly could have got more out of this one. I think I'm surprised as well. The women's tag match specifically, that's the one I'm more let down by. And the reason I'm more let down by that one is because they did nothing to further the Jade thing after the Bianca and Naomi segment in the locker room. They didn't mention it once on commentary.
They're not going to.
Which I think is quite annoying, because you get to see the athletic prowess of Bianca, you get to see the dynamic ability of Naomi, you get to see the giant in Nia Jax, and to a degree she works quite well in that way, even though she's got the personality of a broken piece of glass. You do get to see the groundwork of Candice LeRae, even though she is boring as hell.
God, she's boring.
But how can you not? Now, this match got about 10 minutes. I think it got about 10 minutes or so, maybe a little bit more than that. But even
I have a legit question, though.
Go on.
Who is writing the stories for the women? Are they having men write these stories, or are they having women write these stories?
No, they are actually having women writing the stories. I can't remember all the names associated with it, but if those are dudes, they got weird ass names.
I can tell you who isn't writing anything for them, and that's the likes of Mickie James or Trish Stratus or Lisa Marie. Those three aren't, but that's who I would head up their creative side. There's not even, like, I'm surprised as well. Like, she's not associated with this company. Why are they not getting Stephanie McMahon to do something with the women? Let her be the head creative of women, for fuck's sake. She knows what she's doing.
And that's where I'll give TNA credit. They brought in Gail Kim. And,
yes.
And it, before all their top names left, their women's division was probably the best in wrestling. And
she's still head of it. She's still head of the women's division in TNA.
And she's basically trying to make chicken soup out of chicken shit, that because she don't really have any top names except for Jordan Grace, who's leaving, and Masha.
I think that's why they've got Blanchard in as a stopgap. A lot of outlets are saying that she signed. I'm skeptical, but unfortunately, whether you like her or not as a person, she is still a star. Whether people like her or not.
If you've got someone like Trish Stratus, who is on like a Legends deal, why don't you bring them in and let them help with the women's creative?
Yeah.
You're already paying them. Why not pay them, pay them to get ideas? And they don't have to do it full time.
Yeah, they can just run things by them. On you go. He's actually got his hand up. We're like in school. Go on. Yeah. What are you thinking?
They're not going to. They're not going to because the merch is still moving. Why do they need to? See, this is where I kind of blame the fans. If you're not getting what you want, stop spending fucking money. It's real simple. If you're not getting what you want, stop spending money like a dumbass.
Yeah.
Because as long as the cash is flowing, oh, this looks good, man. Did you see the gate this week? Look at those merch sales. They love this stuff.
I agree on that, yeah.
So, I mean, I don't really... this is one of those things where I don't blame WWE. I don't blame anybody in WWE. If your bottom line is not being affected, why should you do something different?
Yes.
Same thing for all the promotions. There's problems we see in a lot of promotions, but that money's still flowing. So they're like, it's just podcasters, it's e-fans, it's IWC, it's all they don't know what they're doing because the cash is still flowing. If the cash would stop flowing, fans, knuckleheads, all of you, if you quit spending money on the damn product, see, I quit giving WWE any of my time. You know, I pulled all my time away from WWE. I don't do Raw, I don't do NXT, and I don't do SmackDown. It's not because I particularly hate the show.
I literally have WWE on TV on Mondays for Fridays, sometimes Tuesdays, just as background noise. Like, I really don't pay that much attention to it unless I know, like, if Reece has asked me to be on the show to cover one of them. But, and then I think the only reason I went to a WWE event was right after Cody went to WWE is because Brendan wanted to go see him. And AEW had not been in North Carolina, Virginia, or South Carolina in like a year.
Yeah.
So it was the only wrestling show that had been around for like a year or so.
Yeah. But I mean,
which is moderately fine.
As long
and
as
then I got one shirt. He got a few items. We paid for the tickets. And even then, we were in the bottom, like in the lower bowl, and I only paid $70 per ticket.
Oh, those were the days. $70.
And that was like, that was like 3 days before the event.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's none of that anymore. There's certainly none of that anymore, but hey ho.
$70 won't even get pigeon shit on your head up in the nosebleeds. You know?
I paid $70 a ticket to go to Revolution.
Yeah.
And sit in the lower bowl.
But I'm saying, as long as the cash is flowing to WWE, they have no need to change. And that's anything that we sit here and talk about on a regular basis. As long as the cash is flowing in quote unquote record numbers.
Well, it's going to be record numbers when they charge you gouging prices.
Yeah, exactly. But do you blame them? Do you blame them?
No, I don't. And it's business 101. I get it.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. But guys, I'm going to hate to do this, but I'm probably going to have to check out here in about 15 minutes because, you know, nothing ever happens until I want to do something. And so it is what it is. I might have to check out here in about 15 minutes, though, because there's enough coming across my phone that I probably have to do it. So,
work.
Yeah, I just got promoted, guys. You got to bear with me here for a couple of months till I impress everybody and I can get back to being what I was. So, you know, I've got to step up, impress them, and so on and so forth. That's got something to do with the other part of it is there's some business that needs to be conducted that I wasn't expecting to have to conduct, but we're going to conduct it. So, other than that, I mean, go ahead. Let's get through as much as we can, though. I don't think we're going to get through a lot that fast, but let's get through as much as we can.
You never know. One thing I will say, this is the last thing I want to say, is a negative on that women's tag match. A definite negative is if you're going to have Bianca Belair do the mounted 10 punches in the turnbuckles, please have it on someone who's a taller opponent than Candice LeRae because it didn't look right. Yeah,
no, you can't work in that area. There's lots going on in that particular sphere that you can't really, And Melo's one of them. Anybody that works with Melo, he's like 6 inches shorter than Rey Mysterio. It's hard to work with, you know. Same concept.
It's very, very sloppy. Speaking of that, I did particularly skip it because I knew it was going to come. So we've already skipped the Cody Rhodes segment with all them. So next up, obviously, it's Melo versus the better brother of the two, Jim Uso. Ends in a DQ finish. Again, it just furthers the fact that Jacob Fatu is the star in this family.
They'll figure that out, and they're still trying to nerf him, but I don't think you can nerf him. I think he's unnerfable. I do. I think Jacob Fatu is in the same category as, and I'm comparing him for one simple reason. Chelsea Green, you can't bury her either. They've tried to bury her like 7 times, and they haven't buried her yet. I don't think you're ever going to be able to bury Jacob Fatu because he's just that good. He's
He's a
that
genius.
good in the ring, and he's that good on the mic.
Oh yeah, he really is fantastic. This segment from him altogether was brilliant. I like the fact that he's completely went and shut down the fans for their treatment of Solo. Even though no one cares about Solo, I actually like that from him. Like, you can definitely tell though the minute that mic dropped and the way that Solo left the ring, I think Jacobs realized actually, no, okay, he's gone. What the hell? Yeah, this is my time now. I'm
Yeah,
taking it.
yeah. Solo's time was.
It's Jacobs' time.
It was Jacob's time the minute he got in the ring, and the minute he got in the promotion, it was his time. Solo, in my estimation, never had it and never will have it. I don't think he had it. I don't know what they see in him except that he's a Samoan or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That
Going
is
back
for
to the Mello
sure.
match, though, have you noticed that they have paired Mello with big name, already established stars on the roster trying to get him over, and it's not working?
Yeah, no, it's not working.
I did say he was the wrong person to come up from NXT. Even though people don't particularly like him, I still think they got it wrong. They should have promoted Trick Williams.
Yeah, because he's going to be buried in NXT coming out of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
I think his stock is about dead now. They've about killed his stock. Mello's just another example of that NXT machine that fights in front of 150 people, and they go, "Oh, look, they're cheering for him," without actually going out and seeing what real crowds think of people. And maybe if it bites them in the ass 20, 30 more times, they'll quit doing it. But who out of NXT, with the exception of maybe Seth Rollins, who out of NXT has really, I'm not counting Roman Reigns because I don't believe that, I believe the NXT thing was just a stop on the train for him. But who else besides Seth Rollins has come out of NXT that's valuable?
Rhea Ripley, Braun Breaker, Ilja Dragunov. I
wouldn't even say
Bianca
Dragunov
Belair.
right at the moment.
See, that's just it. Rhea Ripley, I'd give you.
Bianca, 100%.
Well, Bianca could have bypassed it. These are the ones I'm talking about that didn't need it.
I don't think she would have been able to bypass it because I think if she had, she would have really struggled and she wouldn't have got where she needed to be. People are going to say a lot of bias in this one, Bank, and they were getting somewhere until they had her buried to a pregnant champion, but Shayna Baszler, Io Sky was another one.
Shayna, I wish would have gone somewhere. Io Sky was already made. Io Sky was already made coming in there. She definitely didn't need NXT. So, I mean...
they've got to put them in there, unfortunately.
I know. Pretty much the same thing for Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley didn't need it. I went back and looked at some of her old shit, and it was good then. Her old shit was good. She needed a little bit of polish, and that was about it.
She just didn't have the look. Like, she didn't have like her old stuff. There's good work in there, but she just didn't have a look. She didn't feel authentic. And even she said that herself. She didn't feel authentic. She was just another blonde.
Mm-hmm.
Thank God
I
she
like what she's
embraced the real
doing
side.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. I like the fact she just embraced herself, and I'm like, thank fuck.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she would have been screwed. But I think Braun Breaker's definitely won. I think if he had just been on the main roster, I don't know. I think he may have been lost if he hadn't gone through the main roster. I think doing NXT was right for him. Actually, another one as well, even though he was already on the main roster years ago, it's just a random. Tommaso Ciampa.
Yeah.
I think he's another one, to be honest. Like, Johnny Gargano doesn't come close to Tommaso Ciampa in any shape or form.
No, but there again, Tommaso Ciampa was already made in Ring of Honor, and at least they're letting him work at least half of his speed from Ring of Honor. Yeah. So, I mean, he was already made. Same thing with Johnny Gargano. That whole NXT group you guys were talking about was where Hunter just basically rated the independents and got the good independent wrestlers. So, I mean, anything after the big raid What I'm saying, those people they brought in.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's just not that many. If they didn't raid New Japan, or if they didn't raid like Defy or
Progress and
Progress and PGW, and apparently that German one where they found Walter, you know.
he was doing Progress as well with Osprey as well.
Yeah. See, that's what I'm
Good
saying.
stuff. That's when he was doing his Hitman gimmick, Osprey, that Hitman version of the Aero Assassin, which was fun stuff.
Yeah, so I'm just saying. I mean, there isn't a whole lot that wasn't the result of a raid. Like,
if he hadn't been a creepy weirdo, 100% I would have said Velveteen Dream.
Yeah, he had potential, but that,
he had some bizarre star power. At the time, the only one who really came close to him in terms of athletic prowess, in terms of moving the ring, was probably Ricochet. I don't think anyone else in that period really moved like Velveteen Dream apart from Ricochet.
Mm-hmm.
In the same promotion, of course. Solo gets up and leaves. Jacob Fatu cuts an amazing promo.
Mm-hmm.
Credit to him. That's genuinely one of the best promos SmackDown's had in a long time. He's certainly taken a run with it. Up next, men's tag action. One of the greatest tag teams of all time, even though they're not what I was hoping to see, but still one of the greatest tag teams of all time. The Guns versus the Wolves 2.0 and Angelo and Humberto Carrillo. Because I say the Wolves, they're literally gimmicked up like the Wolves during their Ring of Honor and TNA days. Like for like, they look exactly like Eddie Edwards and Davey Richards, except they're not American. But this match was spoiled by pretty boring. This match was actually going fine. It was fast. Both teams were working stiff as well, which is quite unusual for a tag match in WWE. They don't normally let talent work stiff. I think they leaned into the veterans, were relying on them, saying, well, you know what, actually, we'll do this. We trust you. So Garza and Humberto Carrillo are working stiff with the Guns. It's going really well. This could have ended with either team getting a win, even though there's a continuation from last week with interference. We didn't need Pretty Deadly here. They could have done it after the match. You could have attacked Los Garza or the Guns after, not during. You've actually spoiled a great match that's actually on TV. This is one of WWE's best tag matches in a long time, and you spoiled it by stupid interference from the tag team no one gives a fuck about.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks for ruining that for me. I also like the fact that I was surprised Los Garza were working stiff as well. Like some of the forearm shots they were getting and some of the kicks they were getting on Chris Sabin's knee especially, which has been repaired surgically so many times. I like the fact that they were like, you know what, go for it. Like Sabin and Shelley, you can tell that they trust those two.
Right.
Because if they didn't, there's no way they would have let him go near Sabin's knee. So credit to them for that. But the minute the two fuckwits came out, I was annoyed. I was annoyed. Oh my days. Maria. Okay, that's a name I did not expect to see, but hello there. This match should have been better. Absolutely. I would never expect to see Maria here, but hello there. Welcome to the channel. Who do you think could have replaced Rey? I think Del Rio. No, nobody could have replaced Alberto Rey Mysterio. The reason why nobody can replace him is because he's authentic in his own way, and he has control of his own character, just like nobody in New Japan can replace Jushin Thunder Liger.
Right.
There will never be another Ric Flair.
No. Yeah. There'll never be another Bret Hart. There'll never be another Shawn Michaels.
Another Undertaker.
Yeah, those are one-of-ones.
Yeah, even whether you like him or not, there will never be another Triple H as well.
Yeah, there won't be another Paul Levesque either.
In terms of heel work, he is one of the best ever heels. I'm not like an absolute amazing fan of his, but I will still credit his heel work. Late 90s, early 2000s, his heel work was off the chain.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll never see another one like so. I don't personally think you can have other like luchadors or Mexican talents come in, and that's cool, but they'll never replace those guys. Like I love Pentagon Jr. to death, But Pentagon Jr. is not a Rey Mysterio replacement. Pentagon's his own guy.
Yeah.
You should be looking to put someone in the Rey Mysterio spot, not replace Rey Mysterio. I think that's what people are not getting. I think that's the difference. But yeah, Maria, to be fair, she says they were all one of a... Yeah, they were. I'll give you that. I will grant you that. Long story short, by the way, this whole tag match segment was actually the highest rated by Bleacher Report. The whole show, by the way, like they gave it a C+, but they gave this match and the post match, they gave it an A-. Nothing got close to that. Everything else, it was B's or B- or C+. This is the only A base grade on this show according to Bleacher. Don't blame them. Until I think the only reason why it's an A- is because Pretty Deadly got involved. The Reign of Terror is very underrated heel run by Triple H. Would you agree? His Evolution heel era. I mean, he held the world title 5 times in that period for a combined well over 500 days or close to 500 days over his 5 runs, I think. He held it 5 times because the only person who held it more than him was Edge. He held it 7 times.
Right.
Longest combined reigns over 5 days, yeah. 616 days. It's his combined length of reign. For 5, mind you, because he had his second reign when he took it from Michaels after Michaels beat him in the chamber. When he took it from Armageddon, he held it for 280 days, which Batista then bettered that by 2 days. And then obviously Batista tore his pec when he should have lost it to Eddie Guerrero.
Yeah.
So they got that one. Obviously there was a mess up here again. They also announced before this match that you're going to get Jacob Fatu versus Braun Strowman at Saturday night's main event. Jacob Fatu is winning that. Spoiler. Next up, you got Piper Niven and B-Fab. Long story short,
Could have done without that.
good drive and finishing move. That's it.
But we had women's matches.
Yeah. I'm fine with women's
I
matches.
could have done without that.
I could have done without it too. I mean, just having them for the sake of having them didn't do anybody any favors. That's what I'm trying to point out on that. It's like having them for the sake of having them.
They only had this.
And does anybody really want to see B-Fab wrestle? I mean, come on.
No. Wanted. To be fair,
No.
I wanted Piper versus Meechin. To be honest, the story is Chelsea Green versus Piper and Chelsea Green and Piper Niven versus Meechin's been the story since.
Exactly. Meechin would have been a better fit.
Right.
So that makes more sense. We then get your final men's match of the night. Obviously, is Kevin Owens versus Rey Mysterio. We said that obviously the finish has completely changed for Kevin Owens. It looks like they're going back to the pop-up powerbomb. This match, to a degree, was actually okay between the two of them. I didn't particularly see any faults. I think you can clearly see that both men looked after each other in the ring. They didn't want it. There wasn't any sloppiness. I think the only thing, though, I do agree is this match seemed too good for a SmackDown. Now, people moan about having dream matches on other, or giving away free matches on free TV. I actually would have preferred this match on a pay-per-view. I think it would have been fun. I think this would have been a fun pay-per-view match compared to a TV main event. If people want to hold their arguments about what's on telly and what's on free TV and what's on pay-per-view or premium live, and whatever you want to call it. And then obviously post-match we get the attempt at the package pile driver, fails because Cody Rhodes comes out moving with clean bill of health, as it's been declared. But here we go. During this match, I want to give WWE preps to one thing though. The tribute video for Bob Wecker. I thought that was a nice touch. Obviously, he lost his life this week. That man did a lot of great things for Andre the Giant, so rest in peace, Bob Wecker. And then your main event, which including commercials, was given the last 20 minutes of the show, which is literally there was exactly 20 minutes left. We got Bayley versus. Yeah, it was a sweet tribute. We got a 20-minute main event between Tiffany Stratton and Bayley. There's a very interesting comment here, and I want to get Catherine's opinion on this one. Then you, Matt. This is something that Bleacher Report particularly put in. I did notice this from the show, but their exact words were, Stratton keeps getting good reactions, but she's yet to fully transition to being a babyface. It seems like WWE doesn't know if it wants to make the turn yet. Like, they don't know when they're going to make the move.
I think a lot of that has to do with the negative feedback she got.
Mm-hmm. I did say her promo last week was the right words but wrong execution.
Mm-hmm. And I think her feedback from her social media posts about Jade Cargill, I think they're still kind of afraid to turn her face because they may get backlash from that.
Which is very fair to say. Maria says very good match by these ladies. What about yourself, Matthew? Would you echo Catherine's statement about that? I mean, it was quite a controversial thing at the time, but would you echo those statements, or would you say there's another element to it? Or do you think that maybe Tiffany Stratton, she's a good worker to an extent. I think she's been fast-tracked, but she seems to be doing quite well. Do you think maybe she's still premature on the main scene for taking the championship?
Absolutely. I mean, they fumbled the times when they could have done it to make it make sense, and then they basically have done it in passing. And what would have made a lot more sense is to have her be the first fail. That would have made better sense. And I think people were just getting into the Nia run, and basically with Tiffany Stratton, you wore the hell out when she finally cashed it in. You were just worn out. You're like, she's probably, oh shit, she's actually cashing it in on a random SmackDown. We are creatively bankrupt.
They did the exact same thing with Carmella when she won it, and then she had to win it. Then when she had to re-win it, she beat Charlotte after an attack by the Iconics on SmackDown.
Yeah. I mean, that's just it. I mean, the creative that they put out there for the women right now is just, And
if you had to have done that change, when would you have done the Money in the Bank cash in? For me, I would have done it at the last pay-per-view.
I would have done it at King of the Ring.
Okay, when she faced
I would have done it right afterwards. I would have done it like they did. They didn't have a problem doing it with Liv Morgan. Yeah. Over arguably the biggest women's star they had at the time. They didn't have a problem with her throwing her clothes back on and going back out there and whipping the shit out of her. They didn't have a problem with it. That's what they should have done then. And it would have made a whole lot more sense. We could have gotten a lot more rotation to it. The biggest problem they ran into is they couldn't find a spot to put Lyra Valkyria in. So when they created this belt, they were like, there it is. We can put her there.
This is a fair comment from. I don't mean to cut you there. Sorry, I was just saying this is a very fair comment from Maria. She says the women's cash-in is always lame for some reason. It's quite weird because when you look at it, they always seem to get the right time for the men's cash-ins. You know what I mean? Like, I can't, apart from one or two which are really, really bad, but like the big notable cash-ins for the men's side have worked tremendously. Like the twice the Edge has done it back to back really felt like, yeah, this is something you can buy into. The 2 times CM Punk done it was great. Seth Rollins at WrestleMania was excellent. Dean Ambrose doing it on the night that Seth Rollins beats Roman Reigns to regain the championship that he never lost. He then takes it from him. That's really well done. Big E does it in his way over Bobby Lashley. Very echoing statement. Very well done.
Mm-hmm. It's real simple. There's a simple answer to that question.
Oh, and RVD and ECW is another one because
Yeah.
that was well done. But like, I think
It's
the women, there's never really been a good cash in.
It's because it's real simple. They you can't book them one way for 364 days in a year, and then all of a sudden book this cash in like they're Captain fucking America. It just doesn't work.
I think the only good
Every
cash in was Io.
single time they work them. They work them a certain pace, a certain set, and a certain way for 364 days out of the year. Then this cash in comes in, and all of a sudden it's Super Tiffany flying into the rescue. That's why it never works.
To be fair,
the guys, they work them different ways, different styles, different anticipation, different antagonistic ways, different speeds, the whole 9 yards. When the guys cash in, it makes total sense.
I agree with the guy as well. Like when Nick Nemeth done it on that Raw main event, like the night after WrestleMania on Albert Del Rio, that was a heck of a crowd. Like crowd pop he got. Catherine's going to light up when they say his name, but Randy Orton's one as well at SummerSlam was excellent. Like that was very well done.
But it's
especially because he came out and said, "I'm going to do it anyway." He already announced it to people. He was going to do it at SummerSlam. People thought he was taking the piss, but he's like, "No."
It's all about the way they pace them and everything else. I mean, they pace the men completely different from the women. So the fact that most of the women's cash-ins suck is because for one day out of the year, you've got somebody running down to the ring and excited as opposed to sashaying to the ring and doing the little tipsy and the pirouettes and the I'm Chelsea Green, you know.
She should have won it. I was there for that event. I was there live. She should have won that. I'll say this as well, and I stand by it. I think there's only been 2 good women's cash-ins. Alexa Bliss, because it helps Ronda Rousey. It protects Ronda Rousey from losing her first match with Nia Jax, which is very well done. Ronda then gets the rub. She gets the favor back from Alexa the following pay-per-view, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would say Io Sky. I don't think there's been any other good cash-ins. I think Alexa Bliss and I think the best 2 by far are Alexa Bliss and Io Sky. It just mattered.
Well, it goes back to they don't know how to write for the women.
Yeah.
Whether it be women writing this, men writing this, they just don't know how to write for the women.
And see that goes back to what I was saying. You can't book one way for 364 days out of the year and then book it completely different for this one thing and expect it to go over anything more than a lead balloon.
Massively.
And then with all the fake times Tiffany did it, it was like the boy that cried wolf. When she finally did it, you're like, whatever.
Yeah, I was already worn out from the other 132 times she was trying to cash in. You know?
Yeah, it's happened now. Maria says the first cash-in by Edge on Cena on New Year's Revolution 2006 after the brutal Elimination Chamber match, which I'll agree is actually Cena's best match in my opinion. And Seth at WrestleMania, the best, well, it's not his best match, but it's his best involving multiple men. The first cash-in by Edge, New Year's Revolution, and Seth at WrestleMania, the best cash-ins. I would also say CM Punk's. CM Punk's on Jeff Hardy. Like, because that, when you look at top baby faces, like, despite his personal afflictions, Jeff Hardy in 2009 is still one of the top baby faces in WWE.
Yeah.
Punk got proper heel heat at Extreme Rules for doing that. Like, he got real heat for that. And to be fair,
and that's another issue I think is across the board in wrestling, period. Your heels don't get real heel heat anymore.
Exactly.
Very few of them get real heel heat.
Absolutely. I was going to say another one as well, because I mentioned his 2 cash-ins. Edge versus Taker after he beat Kennedy for the briefcase, and he cashed in the same week. He just pops out after the world title steel cage and he just spears the Undertaker. That's also good work from him as well. Like, that is full capitalization. That's very well done. So we got that. One praise though from this women's title match that I think it will probably get highlighted elsewhere, but absolutely I'm glad that in June the shows are coming down to 2 hours. Fine, fuck. It was good to see them try and present Roxanne in a way. Like they kept twisting. And I mentioned I didn't like how they used Braun Breaker on Raw back to back because he's been in the crowd twice, but we know that Roxanne Perez isn't going to do anything. But I like the fact that she's there to constantly stick the knife into Bayley. But I do agree with you. Yeah. There's something that Wade Barrett says, and ironically, it sums up what people think of this draft, which is absolutely brilliant. It's coming from a heel commentator. When he says that she's a SmackDown superstar, what the hell is she doing going to Raw, and what is she doing going to NXT? She's got nothing. She's got nothing to do with them. Like, yeah, she's got massive history with NXT, but he's completely spot on. She's a SmackDown superstar. What the heck? Like, I don't care if it's her hometown crowd. SmackDown will appear in San Jose at some point. Who gives a fuck? Like, I don't. Ooh,
I get them using Bayley because she's from that area.
Some of it was the guy. Some of it. I thought they added Jamie Noble in it. And
I think them putting Tiffany in the ring with Bayley, who's an established veteran, so to say, I think that was trying to give or make fans see Tiffany in a different light, that hey, she can work with some of our established veterans.
Yes. I think Maria's made a suggestion. We're going to jump into AEW for a second so Matthew can smile. But I think Matthew wants to respond to this. Go on, my chief.
No, actually, I was going to say this thing's blowing up here. Can I take like 5 minutes and give you my AEW take and just because I'm going to have to work. I'm going to have to work. There's no other way around it.
Oh, that's awkward. Well, of course you can. You'll be on my next shows anyway, don't you?
Yeah, I'll be on there. AEW, Christopher Daniels, Hangman Adam Page, Chef's Kiss match. Loved it. Loved the fact that Adam Page had the wherewithal and the brain smarts to go down there and give him a what was they call that? A broken wings or something like that?
The angel wings.
He paused a minute, went down there and gave him the angel wings to put it all together, tied it up in a nice little bow. It was great. Harley Cameron gets better with age, and literally she had the wherewithal and the presence to even fuck up her eye makeup so it still looked like she had the spit in her face. Most people don't think to do that. Top shelf stuff. I wish they had made the promo section where they were kicking Max Caster the hell out of the building, a 2-minute get the fuck off my screen thing, but they carried it out along. Yeah, the rest of it was really good, and that was what I had to say about AEW. SmackDown overall was a decent show. It's just too damn long. Like, literally, I did an entire wrestler interview, and we had technical difficulties and everything, and there was still an hour and a half left of SmackDown, which is absolute ass.
Yeah, I'm the same.
I don't
like 3-hour TVs. I don't. I'm the same as you. I don't like 3-hour television. I'm glad TNA doesn't do it anymore. They did, and they were like, "Nah, this doesn't work."
Yeah, it doesn't work.
The only time I need 3 hours of a wrestling show is if it's the pay-per-view.
Yeah. If it's a master show, with a culmination of a lot of storylines, then we can have 3 hours. But 2 hours is long enough because the violence. When WWE doesn't have violence, but everybody else.
The old days of violence. I'll give you a controversial take, and I want to get your opinion before you go. Scott Hall, rest in peace. Great man of the business. He actually said something in an interview a few years ago that was actually very interesting. I can't play the video because it's on YouTube and I am not getting struck for copyright. But he actually was asked, and I quote, "How long do you like for TV and what's your preference?" And his exact response was, "I like the 2-hour shows. It works well. 3 hours is too long. You don't get enough of it, and your opening hour and the closing part of that is difficult to maintain." But he actually loved the 1 hour shows Raw used to do in the early 90s. He loved 1 hour TVs. he actually begged for companies to go back to 1 hour.
Yeah, he came from that. See, you got to figure Scott Hall came from the AWA, and AWA was 1 hour on ESPN every other day. It was a 3-hour show, but they broke it into 1 hour segments across 3 days on ESPN. It made total sense to do it that way when they were doing tape delays and everything else. And it's easier to shoot for an hour because at most you're going to have 2 matches and 2 talking segments. And
Yeah.
I have always advocated Memphis Wrestling comes on Triller. It's exactly 1 hour long, and you get 3 matches and 4 talking sessions.
It was great
And the
stuff.
matches are good. You can do it, but you've got to. It's like speed booking. And there again, we get back to what I opened up with a while ago here. You don't have the attention span for a 1 hour show.
Yeah,
I know that sounds dumb to say, but it's not, because you got to pack a lot of shit into a 1 hour show. Whereas you can let it breathe a little more with 2 hours. You can let it just flop on the couch and like stink and be smelly with 3 hours.
I'm okay with 2 hours, but if you've got something particular that you want to really get the crowd over with, that you say maybe we're going to go 5-10 minutes over, I don't mind that. I don't mind that. But for me, it should be 2 hours. That's it. I don't like watching more than that in general for TV. I don't like. I've said it always. Raw's downfall was going to 3 hours, and that was 14 years ago. They went to 3 hours. It has never worked.
No,
and 2 hours is healthy. It's healthy television, and if you still want to do your pre-tapes afterwards, I'm all right with that. I don't care about that. But your literally your start to end runtime of your show should be 2 hours. There's no need for that.
The one thing that Tony Khan does better than anybody in the world, and nobody gives him credit for, are those vignettes that pop up on X that weren't even in the show. I mean, it's like we got 3 or 4 pop-ups from yesterday that weren't even segments for the show, but it shows you that you can actually do that and get 90% of that 3rd hour. You could have in those little vignettes that AEW throws up, like backstage segments. They're sitting on the steps, they're talking to the camera, things like that. You could get all that done the same way that AEW does it. So shout out to them for doing that, even though they don't get a lot of credit for it. Nobody ever credits that as being a good idea. I think it's phenomenal because...
Do you know where they got the idea from? I do.
Yeah, you get the same content as you would with a 3 hour show. The problem is, or the better part of it is, it's not 3 hours of your television. So,
that's
but
true.
I will be back. I promise. I got to go to work, guys. I'm sorry, I got to roll.
Well, we're gonna review this. So if we're still live, feel free to jump back in. You're more than welcome, or the live chat. You're more than absolutely welcome in that sense. I'll tell you right now before you go, where Tony Khan got the credit for that. When Scott D'Amore returned to TNA, he was doing that.
Yeah, and it made sense. I mean, they could do more of that and have less of this bloated TV that we don't need. And nobody, like Maria just said, I guess I start losing focus in the 3rd hour. I start losing focus. 10 minutes to go in hour number 2, I'm like, oh God, we've got another hour of this shit.
It's hard because you want to keep the crowd enjoyed, and I think that's the most important. You want to keep the crowd going, and by all means, they really do try. The problem is, you've been in the building for so long. You have to watch the dark stuff as well before it goes live. Then you watch the stuff afterwards to see if there's anything else on. Going through even a 3 hour television while sitting through breaks, sitting through what's going on, it's exhausting. And until you've actually experienced it live, if you haven't experienced that live, then you don't know what you're saying. I have. I've been to all of that. It is mental. And I know straight away, I'm drawn in the middle of the show and wake up in time for the main event. That says it all. Like,
I mean, that's pretty much where I'm at doing watch-alongs. That's another reason I quit doing the watch-alongs for WWE, because 3 hours of that shit's just too much.
People will come back and say, but you do the same for you can't really have an excuse if you do it for New Japan or if you do it for their pay-per-views. But yeah, their pay-per-views, they're different. You know they're going to run long.
Yeah,
They're
it's
going
a
to have
pay-per-view. Yeah.
But actual TV, it's not the same.
Yeah, a New Japan show, an actual New Japan show that they present on television is only an hour and a half long.
Exactly.
I mean, it's an hour and a half of pre-tape. They're mostly pre-tape matches. What I saw on Axis was mostly pre-tape matches.
All
But it's an
pre-tape,
hour and a half long. It's an hour and a half long. I can do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you actually look at before you go, TNA's cutoff is literally on the TNA app is actually 1 hour 35. You know, every single show on TNA app is 1 hour 35 minutes of their weekly TV. The pay-per-views are about 3 hours, nothing more.
Yeah, see, Ring of Honor, I just did the Ring of Honor watch along for this past week, and it was 1 hour and 11 minutes, an hour and 11 minutes of wrestling. And we're done. We're at the house. We're done, you know?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's no harm.
It's easy to get through. It's an hour and it's basically an hour and 15 minutes. I can roll with that. But guys, I will catch you on the flip side. I'm getting ready to head out, and I'll be back as soon as I can, or if I can't make it, I'll see you next time, okay?
Absolutely. Good seeing you, brother. Good seeing you.
Good to be
Matthew.
here. Bye, Catherine. I'll see y'all next.
Going back to Maria's comment about Roxanne, hell fucking no. Roxanne Perez sucks.
I know you don't like her. I do.
Well, I know you like her. I don't like her. She sucks.
On what basis?
She's a snotty-nosed little brat.
Yeah.
No, her in-ring ability, she's got some. I'll give her that. She's not as
grant
bad
you
as
that.
some of the females in NXT.
She's probably in the top 3 that they've got. Actually, top 4. 4 they've got. Roxanne, Vakur, Delta, and Julia are the best they've got. I don't think anyone touches them in terms of quality. Spear someone on the way. Jesus, question violence. Okay. So now let's now review Collision and
I agree with Leo. Yeah, I'm drooling in the middle of the show and wake up for the main event on a 3-hour Raw.
Oh well, she
in
won't
a
get
3-hour
heat.
SmackDown.
She'll get a little bit of heat, but she won't get enough. She'll get more heat if she was to rip the hell out of Bayley afterwards. Like, if she didn't just eliminate her but brutally attacked her, then you get heat. If you just eliminate her, there's not going to be much. There's not much of it. That's just, oh, she got an elimination. She needs to do more. Like, if she brutally attacks Bayley after eliminating her, then it's really worth something for her as a heel. This show does kick off, obviously, with the words from the main event, with Rated FTR, the Outrunners, Powerhouse Hobbs, Okada, and Hangman Page are all in conversation. This was a live show for a change. Not. It was live, but it was taped. And then we have, and it's from Cincinnati, so it's already a terrible state.
I agree. Ohio sucks.
Mm-hmm. Tony, skim over my coffee, Nige, and Matt, meniscus torn boredom on commentary. Only one good comment. Tony Schiavone used to be great until 2022. He's regressed in the past 3 years. Matt Menard on commentary is...
I like him on commentary.
He's a dusted pencil.
I like Daddy Magic on commentary.
Yeah, he can commentate on OVW, but it's just annoying that he's... The problem with him is he would be more genuine on commentary if he wasn't just so pure biased to his little skinhead of a fake friend, Daniel Garcia. It would mean more if Skinhead wasn't his best mate. The commentary would feel more authentic. It takes away from him because some of the matches he's calling...
I'll give you that when he does call a Daniel Garcia match. But him and the Big Show, when they were doing commentary for AEW Dark, I liked them together.
I'll give him that. That was good. I'll tell you another thing as well. I think he worked really well with Riccaboni last week. It worked really well with Riccaboni on comms. Nige, Riccaboni, and Matt Menard as a trio works well as a comms. But Menard with Scavoni doesn't work. It's too similar. And long story
I'm
short,
probably gonna have a hot take, but I think Tony Schiavone is the Michael Choate of AEW.
yeah, he just talks for the sake of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think he used to be a great commentator. He used to be.
Oh, back
I
in the
think-
day when he used to do WCW, yeah, he was. Or
Yeah, and early and years 1 to 3 of AEW, he was really strong for that, but he fell off. But I think big reality check though is he should just be doing interviews. I think that would work really well, or teaching people backstage about commentary.
and believe it or not, I would
nice.
prefer having Chris Jericho on commentary. I enjoyed Chris Jericho on commentary when he would do Rampage.
His commentary is really good. Yeah, especially commentary for Christian versus Kenny, for example. That was brilliant. He did do commentary in WWE as well for a few times back
So,
in
How about
2003,
this?
and it was
Give me
absolutely
Chris
good.
Jericho, Nigel McGuinness, and Menard as your collision commentary.
Yeah, I like that. But who's Dynamite? Who do you have Dynamite?
Taz, I love Taz.
Taz and Riccaboni?
Yeah, you could do a 2-man booth, and if you wanted to do a 3-man booth, you could do Taz, Riccaboni.
As long as it's not bloody Excalibur. He's boring.
And you
Tony
know who
should be-
I, you know who
Ooh,
I
that's
actually
interesting.
like, and I don't think they'll do it because they have other commitments. I love Caprice Coleman on ROH. Him and Riccaboni together are awesome.
Yeah, I agree with that. Those two are good. And I like for pay-per-views for Ring of Honor, Nigel does join them. That right there would be
But if
your
you have
great culture.
Taz, who do we say? Taz.
Taz, Caprice, Riccaboni for Dynamite, and then
Okay,
for
we have Taz,
Collision,
Riccaboni, and maybe you could put Big Show on there.
he's running Ring of Honor though, isn't he?
Well, I know Riccaboni and Caprice do Ring of Honor.
Is he not the head? Like, is he not like head creative of Ring of Honor though? Big Show. Is he not the head creative?
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure because he was telling QT Marshall that he's got matches, so he must be in charge.
Maybe.
The problem is though, is like I think when you look at it, they've got far too many commentators, but they've not got the right elements. I think if you can find the right balance, and you've got something. Because I've got respect for Tony Schiavone, but he is finished. There hasn't been a good dual partnership in a long time. Like, I think when I look at some of my favorite, or even 3-man teams, like if I look at my favorite commentary partnerships, I will give Michael Cole flowers for one of them because Michael Cole and Taz was a great partnership. Those two worked really well. Lawler and Paul Heyman in WCW and WWE in 2001, great partnerships. Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, and Iron Mike Tenay was great. Iron Mike Tenay with Schiavone and who was the other guy they had before? They would split up between Bobby Heenan and Dusty Rhodes, but there was another guy as well with them at the same time. This was WCW commentary back in 97. Well, 96 and 97.
I can see their face, but I can't think of their name.
Trying to remember. Because he had a feud with Raven back in TNA as well. Trying to remember his name. He was a great... Larry Zbyszko.
Yeah.
Great commentator. He had great commentary with Eric Bischoff actually as well. Now you think about it.
The King and JR.
Yeah, good partnerships. Joey Styles was the greatest solo commentator by a mile. On his own, that guy called pay-per-views. Mind you, they had no money, but he was great for commentary. My favourite commentary duo was JR and Jerry Law, and you can add Heyman, unlike the duo which Reece hates Cole McAfee. I hate them because Pat McAfee is fucking fake. He's faker than Kim Kardashian, and she's all plastic.
No, that's
Like-
McAfee all the time. Because I love watching the Pat McAfee show, and
That's
he's
a
like
wrestling
that
comment.
on his show, just like he is on wrestling.
It just doesn't come across well for me in wrestling. Vic Joseph is another great commentator in WWE. I don't know why he doesn't get a chance to call Raw or SmackDown. I don't get that at all. I think he's actually really good.
Well, you'll be happy to know that McAfee will not be on Raw Monday because he has to do the college football playoff game.
Yeah, I seen that. I put it on Twitter saying it was a waste of a hire.
So you'll get Wade Barrett, which I like Wade Barrett. I like
he's
Wade
good.
Barrett on commentate.
Yeah, I like him. I've got no time or interest in this Corey Graves thing, but this thing is definitely becoming something that I don't know what they're trying to make out of this, but I'm not a particular fan of his work, but he is better than what they have in most ways. Pat versus Corey. Whoever hits Corey first with a pile driver will just end in tears. Oh, sorry, I'm not wishing for ill health here. Kevin Owens, on the phone, package pile driver on Corey Graves, please.
Oh Lord!
I don't believe in
hits on people.
I don't believe in too much violence. Just the right kind of violence.
Controlled violence inside a wrestling ring.
Absolutely. Okay, so first we do get our first match for Collision. It is, of course, the Texas Death Match. This was exactly what it was supposed to be. This was brutal as fuck. It was violent start to finish, and credit to Christopher Daniels for the way he worked this one, because you can tell that he was like, well, if this is going to be my last opponent, I'm going to make sure I go out on a high. And it was really well done. I only had one negative from the actual match itself. Was I think they could have delayed. Then again, I know it's a death match. I'm expecting blood, so I've got no issue with blood. I like the fact that they still go into it. I think they should have delayed going into the blood instead of Hangman going straight for it. I think he should have destroyed Daniels first, like completely destroy his body, and then go, well, there's nothing left for you to stand on. Now I'm going to make you bleed. I think they went into it far too quickly. Obviously, he was by that selling at that point, and that's not a problem for me. At least he was selling the blood in that circumstance. But I think they jumped in too quick. I think they had enough time with this match anyway. It would have been nice if they had just allowed it to grow in that way, but that was amazing. The best moonsault ever is still the best springboard moonsault. I echo Matthew's statements about the Angel's wings at the end of the match. That was great. This was violent as it should be, and lovely touch. I love the powerbomb through the steel chairs as well. The moonsault on the barbed wire table on top of Hangman was well done. I like the use of barbed wire, but I think they went too quickly. That's my critique on it, but it was still a very, very good match. Maria says Christopher Daniels vs. Hangman was an old school ECW. Yes, I agree. Yourself, what did you think of the match? Do you echo my statements? Do you disagree? What did you think of it?
I like the match, and anybody that knows me knows I'm not a fan of Hangman Adam Page.
Very true.
But I see the story progression with this match. I think both men worked really well. I'm like you. I would have had them do basic wrestling moves where Hangman wore CD down, and then brought out the chair, the barbed wire, the weapons, and then just started brutalizing him. But overall, I thought it was a good match, and if that's the way Christopher Daniels wanted to go out, then props to him.
Props to Abu as well, saying it was a lovely match as well. Good ways to come around it, and that's how it should be. If they're requesting it to be this way, then so be it. I think it's fair that people are going to have their own trials and tribulations about the match itself. A lot of people are probably going to shit on it. A lot of people are going to come across as disingenuous. Me, I'm just going to say I think that I would have liked it to have been a wrestling match as well in that way. But I think Hangman rushing to the blood kind of takes it away from his recent work where he is physically beating down people in his matches before he gets to that extreme. I think they should have continued with that. Still, I thought the match was great.
But I kind of see, like, he's so unhinged now that he's not even thinking correctly. So his first reaction was, I'm going to be brutal, instead of the former way where he would beat down his opponent, then become brutal. Now he's just strictly, I'm going for the violence.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair counter-argument to my point. I think that's a very fair point. I've got no issue with that. What did you think of... What did you think before we get to the next match, which is the Undisputed Kingdom, not the half that you like, because, well, I particularly Matt Taven as well. But before we get to the Undisputed Kingdom in STP, which to be fair was a decent match in its own, we did have an interview with Amnesia herself and Tony Schiavone. What did you make of that interview between Schiavone and Tony? I know I saw a lot of people complain. This is how I know that WWE drones are thick. Because surely, even as a WWE drone, surely you would know that when Tony was in other promotions before WWE, and then when she came to WWE, she was literally saying Tony time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if Tiffany Stratton does it. Tiffany Stratton does it really well also. You can have one and praise the other. There's a lesson in WWE drones, not WWE fans, the ones that actually use their brains, WWE drones that use their fingers without their brains. I thought this segment was not so bad. I like the fact that Tony Schiavone is trying to stick the knife into Tony Storm. You've actually faced Mariah before. You've lost the title.
It's like he's trying to reel her back in to, like, remember you were this person. You know, you're not a rookie. And she's not having it. She's like, oh, well, you're a Tony. I'm a Tony. It's Tony time.
So what did you think of the segment, though?
I like this segment. Mm-hmm. As many know, I'm not a fan of women wrestling, but I love me some Toni Storm.
Collectively, I think everyone would be, even Ailey loves Toni Storm.
And even after meeting her at WrestleCade, I loved her even more after meeting her personally.
She's a gem, isn't she?
She is a gem. I just adore her.
Yeah.
So, I get behind whatever she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, she just needs to keep doing her.
You bastard. Abu, you bastard. I suppose everyone likes and dislikes their own thing. I know Matt said that he thinks it's going to run for a whole year, this gimmick. As much as I would like to see where he's coming from, and I do like the idea, I think that's dangerous. I don't think they can get away with that. I think, for me personally, I think the match at Grand Slam should be her snapping out of it. Not since you've got to rush
if not totally snapping out of it, maybe falling back. Okay, so she remembers this certain piece, and then a few months later, she'll remember this certain piece.
Yeah.
You know, if you play it correctly, you could run it for a year. And I think, and if you let her, and if RJ's working on this, it'll keep your interest. You won't be bored.
Yeah, that's my only thing, is how you present it in such a way, because I would like to see lapses of maybe she takes the Storm Zero from Mariah in the match. And she kind of goes, well, not straight away. I'm hoping that she'll be selling it because it's a finishing move to an extent, even though a finishing move in 2025 still means fuck all in pro wrestling these days, which is really annoying.
But maybe, like you said, she takes that at, maybe Grand Slam, and then on Dynamite, she does the interview and goes, I remember a Storm Zero or something, and just start building the pieces little by little.
I know a lot of people want her to win a Grand Slam, and it makes sense because it'd be great to see a rookie become the champion. But for me, she should lose clean to the Storm Zero because it actually does more for the gimmick.
Mm-hmm.
If she wins the championship, as the rookie, then you've already killed. You've killed her. Exactly. You've killed the gimmick anyway. But you've also killed Mariah May. Not in the sense that Mariah May can't redeem herself, but you kill Mariah May because Mariah May is all about killing the women's division. Then you have her lose to a veteran who believes she's a rookie. It's a double-edged sword. It's actually, for once, AEW is actually in a situation where there is a win, not a lose-lose or a no-win situation. There is a win. The win is you have Mariah win with the same move that Tony uses, and she has the realization, oh shit, my move has beat me. Hang on, that also happened at Wembley. How did I forget all of that? You get the elements where she doesn't fully become timeless Tony Storm again, which is, frankly, that character's gone. That character I don't think you'll ever see again, but it's her evolution as a wrestler where you actually think, hold on, this is her becoming something new. She is, timeless Tony Storm is Marilyn Monroe.
Mm-hmm.
There were elements of Marilyn Monroe where she played characters who had the amnesia side of it, and she was playing someone else, not realizing who she was.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have her win the championship in her home country, then you've wasted two talents when actually you can get the benefit much later. There's a much stronger upside. Now, it's not going to happen because he doesn't watch this. He doesn't listen to what I would say, because it's me suggesting to Tony Khan he should listen to my creative pitch. But if nobody's suggesting this as a creative way out, you're a fool. Like, you're an absolute fool if you don't think of it like this. This is actually the best way to actually escalate a story. If it doesn't, then it'll be mental. I think Tony reveals it's been a performance. She was timeless Tony Storm the entire time and defeats May in Australia. See, that is another possibility. The amnesia is just a way to suck people in.
Mm-hmm.
But if she's doing that to suck people in, correct me if I'm wrong, Catherine, but doesn't that not come across as being heelish to you?
A little bit.
Because that gives me that feeling of it was her all along.
Mm-hmm.
And that's only ever been done by heels. It's never been done by a babyface. Because it doesn't feasibly work. I like that comment by Maria, though. I think that's actually very clever.
Yeah, that would be very clever.
But would you do it? Or would you actually carry on a different way? I think Maria's method rivals my opinion in that extent of the booking split.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wary that
It depends on where the booking goes, because like you said, they can go many different ways with the booking. So they could go one way, and then the crowd rejects it. Then they could back up and go another way, and the crowd will like it. I think it's really going to depend on that.
Yeah. Speaking of the crowd going one way, the crowd were definitely invested in this six-man tag until the very end. Because the crowd really liked seeing the Undisputed Kingdom go up against Shane Taylor Promotions, who worked really well as a heel faction, but it got ruined when Matt Meniscus got off his fat arse, got in the face of Shane Taylor, and out comes the most boring wrestler on the planet, Daniel Garcia, who also froze the title.
When Garcia hit the ring, I was like, oh, Reese's favorite.
He throws the title like he thinks he's Tetsuya Naito. Like, mate, you will never have Naito's ability in the ring. You will never have Naito's legacy. You will never have Naito's charisma. So don't act like Tetsuya Naito by throwing the twit knob title that is the TNT. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, that was awful. Like, his whole appearance was a disgrace. This was ridiculous. And I feel bad for Shane Taylor that he actually took that back suplex from that little parsnip.
Yeah, now that's the one thing I had an issue with. You're going to let Daniel Garcia beat up Shane Taylor, who's 4 times his size, and you want me to believe that?
Exactly. Like,
because actually, if they met on the street, Shane Taylor would whoop his ass.
I think he would do more than that. He'd probably have him a shovel, put him in the back of a car, maybe a Lincoln, because you Americans are obsessed with Lincolns for murder cars. And they'd probably have him taken out to the woods and just bury him, figuratively.
But the match in general between was it Lee Moriarty and
Moriarty, Carly Brown, Sean Dean versus
Cole
the
infantry. I like the infantry. I've watched them on RH. I love the infantry. I thought the match itself was pretty good.
Yeah, I would say Murphy. Murphy's a good shout. I'll tell you one thing though. My standout performer in this match 100% was Lee Moriarty.
I think he's very underrated.
Yeah, I think the Undisputed Kingdom works really well as a group. Like, it's good to see them working as a group again after what they've been through.
And I can see them 3 with the trios title in the future.
Yeah, it's good to see them working together after all they've went through, like the injuries, the split factions, all that. They should never have been split to begin with. It was pointless.
But we never really got an explanation on Kyle O'Reilly just jumping back with them. So is he with the Undisputed Kingdom, or is he still with the conglomeration?
I don't know.
Or is he playing both sides?
Well, if he's in bed with multiple people, then you better hope he's using protection.
You would hope so, but I'm
so there's the question. So there's a question. I don't know. I actually don't know. But I'll tell you one thing for start. I know where I would rather him be. I would rather him be with the Kingdom.
Because I would too. So now if he's in the Kingdom, your conglomeration is now Orange Cassidy, which we haven't seen in a few weeks.
Celebration. Jesus. I've got a music change for that. One's actually very impressive, and I'll turn up just for us all to laugh at. Orange Cassidy fuck off theme tune.
There we go. So we haven't seen Orange Cassidy. We still got Mark Briscoe. We still got Ishii, who hangs around every now and then.
Yeah.
And that was it for the conglomeration. So basically now it's just Ishii when he's in the States and Mark Briscoe.
It's a pointless group. It's a pointless group.
So the group is disbanded, but we have no explanation on why they're disbanded. And then Kyle just jumps back to the Undisputed Kingdom.
He jumps back to his best beats.
I'm not sure if Bennett and Taven are going to turn on them 3 or stay with them. I'm still confused.
I know. I'm still trying to figure it myself. Bleacher Report had some, as they put it, notable moments and observations from this segment. The first one was Moriarty's ankle pick to start the match was smooth. I agree. He is really good at that. Bravo and Dean have quietly been one of AEW's most consistent tag teams. They're always fun to watch. I echo that statement. The third one I absolutely disagree with, which is Matt Menard is ridiculously funny sometimes. No, he's ridiculously boring all the time.
Reece, come on now. He is kind of funny on commentary sometimes. You have to give it to him.
Until this bitch boy shows up.
Well, exclude bitch boy.
Alright, excluding bitch boy. He actually does some good stuff. Alright, but when bitch boy appears,
I agree when bitch boy yes, when Bitch Boy appears, he gets on his knees and he starts guzzling. I understand.
Oh yeah, he absolutely is. Up next, not for the sake of the match, but for the post-match segment, but Brian Cage and Lance Archer versus Dante and Darius Martin.
They killed him.
Yeah, and it definitely wasn't the murderers that killed them. It was Action Andretti and Leo Rush that killed them.
I love them as a tag team. I love
like
Leo and Andretti as a tag team. And either they need to put them in the tag team picture or put them down in ROH and let them go after the ROH titles, which I think is being held by Taven and Bennett.
It's Rhodes and Guevara.
Oh, Rose and Guevara. Okay.
Yeah.
So give me a feud with Leo and Andretti with Dustin and Sammy.
That would actually work. Yeah,
and that way it would give Action Andretti a couple more reps because I still think he's a little green.
Yes, me too.
And then put Brian Cage and Lance Archer in the AEW tag team title picture because eventually, I don't know if this is jumping ahead, but we're gonna have Private Party versus Hurt Syndicate on Dynamite.
Yes.
Hurt Syndicate needs to win those titles Wednesday. Then
Massively.
Give me a feud with Benjamin and Lashley and Cage and Archer.
I would absolutely take that. I think what Maria's trying to say is their gear is weird. I think that's in relation to the jackets Rush and Andretti wear. I agree. I don't like those jackets. They are crap. They don't need them. They don't need those jackets. They look like clowns.
Well, I think they're trying to pay homage to like some Japanese thing, anime or something. I'm not really big into anime.
They are.
Children are, but
yeah, they are. Yeah, it's just not translating.
It just looks like a big prickly plant.
Yeah, they are absolutely paying homage to anime. It just doesn't really, it doesn't help them in that way. But 100%, two separate tag teams kill the Martins, and it's beautiful. Speaking of Ishii, it's the Battle of Chaos. Former Chaos leader Okada versus Ishii. Again, they're still never openweight 6-man tag team champions, but they never really do much together anymore anyway. I love Okada. He absolutely smooths this one up with Ishii, but this shouldn't have happened. Ishii does not look capable to work, and we saw it last night, the whole match. He was not up to it, and Okada carried him. There was no need for that at all.
I think Ishii he needs to retire, but he's afraid to retire. And as long as his body is able to continue, he's going to continue. And I kind of felt the same way with Tanahashi. I want to say last year at Forbidden Door.
Yep.
And I'm just like, he so needs to retire. And then we get the announcement that he's going to retire.
Because at least he's got sense. Maria says Hurt Syndicate should totally win the tag championships. Private Party title reign was kind of a flop. I said it on my Dynamite review last week. That it says a lot when Bobby Lashley, who isn't particularly great on the mic, destroys Private Party in that short segment after MVP ruins them. They were left dumbfounded. It was really bad. This match, annoyingly as well, this match does get ruined before we even get to it because the weirdo called Max Caster has a certificate declaring himself the best wrestler in the world. No, you're not, and I hope Okada destroys him with the money clip, not the Rainmaker itself. The money clip just choked the bastard out.
Do you know how Okada came up with the money clip?
From what I remember, yeah. It's a long time ago, though.
He tried it out on his wife.
Yeah. There was another submission he was using at the time. And it really backfired. And he just proposed the idea to his wife, and he was like, apparently she was up for it. For them, apparently, it was how they conceived their child. Their first one, or rumors about how they were conceiving, even though it never actually happened. But he used that as a method of foreplay. So the money clip was his, right, dear, flannels off, and we're in with the money clip. But after that, it's just been an absolute brilliant submission. I think it's great. It's homage to the $1 Million Dream, but it's just the way he does it. It just looks so smooth, like what Ted DiBiase used to do. Not Junior, the thief, but Senior, the legend. Exactly. I feel bad for Okada though. Like Ishii, it's not his fault. He's just, again, he's old. His knees fucked. Gabe Kidd's gonna absolutely kill him. Like, he should retire after that. Billy Gunn, Max Bowen, Anthony Bowen, sorry. I'm glad they're finally away from the fool called Max Caster. Again, the guy sucks. He can't rap for shit.
Yeah, like we said at the beginning of the show, I see where they're going storyline. It went on way too long. I mean, you could have done this in, like Matthew said, 2 or 3 minutes. Bam, done.
Exactly. Could have done, and we all would have celebrated.
And to be honest, I probably, after some of the shit Matt Caster pulled on social media, I probably would have already fired him if I was the owner.
Oh, I would have terminated his contract straight away. Maria says Hurt Syndicate is a lot more clear direction than the Death Riders. I agree. I don't
think people understand the Death Riders. That's the problem. They just don't understand because it's so in depth, and I just don't think people's minds work like that anymore.
I find the bigger reason why I think right now the Hurt Syndicate means more is, and I said it in Matthew's chat last night, and you kind of agreed with me as well, and so did he. Look at the dross they went after first. They went after the likes of Top Flight first. I'm not saying they're terrible talents, but the Death Riders should have went after the main event talent first. If you want to really cement your stats, you've got to go after the main event talent, not your mid card or your lower mid card.
You say that. So if you remember when the Elite were in their dressing room and shredding papers and stuff.
Yeah.
That's when you should have had Moxley and crew just kick the door down and just start beating their ass.
I echo that statement. I agree. I would have had the Bucks.
And then work their way down from there. Because, they're the Elite, so they're at the top of the top. And then just start working your way down from there. Instead of trying to have this AEW versus whoever.
Yeah.
So you basically got AEW Originals versus the Death Riders.
Exactly. Start with the Bucks, your EVPs. That's a statement. Then you work your way. They haven't really gone after him, but they could have went after Okada. Or you go after the Don Callis family, who are presented strongly. You go after Ospreay. You don't go after Action Andretti, Darius Martin, Dante Martin, and all that.
Daniel Garcia.
The only other main event talent they actually went after, even though he's born as piss water, is they went after Orange Cassidy. And he got rewarded with a world championship match. It was bad. Whereas the Hurt Syndicate immediately have come and said, we're taking over, we want titles. They're going straight. They went for Swerve. He's been eliminated from their focal point. That's key. The Death Riders should have went after Swerve as well, but they didn't. Muppets. They went after Hurt Syndicate went after Swerve. He's out of the picture. They're now going after the tag titles. You can tell they've got their eyes, their vision on taking everything. Perfect. Clear, concise, accurate. You don't need to do anything more than that. You don't need to slip it. Dustin Rhodes, he's in a match. Quick squash. Game over. Not really much else. We then get Julia Hart beating Harley Cameron by submission. Again, this was not so bad. It was good to see Julia Hart continuing to work. Again, people, if you think she's not good enough, you're on something. I don't get it. I just don't get it at all. But
they're used to the watered down women's matches they get in WWE.
I think it's just colossal in general. Like, someone of that age and they're working that amount of matches, takes a lot out of them. You've got to give them their props. We then get the main event. So this is the big 12-man tag, but it's 6-on-5 because Hobbs gets taken out backstage. Doesn't really last long anyway because the guy gets the big pinfall with the spinebuster. It's nice to see the spinebuster be treated as a finish. Like, it hasn't been like that since Arn Anderson, so I like that. This match was not so bad. Again, they did another capture point. They tried to capture Copeland, bag him, and take him away. It fails. Good continuity. And the one good thing about this match as well, actually no, three things actually. One, Big Bill, 100%. He's bona fide. He's the only good thing about the learning tree.
I will say he has benefited from working with Jericho.
Yeah, and I can't wait for him to just abandon him at some point and he just goes and does his own thing. He was great. Next great thing, the crowd involvement the whole way through. The crowd were at it. Fantastic. The third thing for me, Powerhouse Hobbs winning the match, but he was still selling the knee injury. He sold that really, really well. Credit to Powerhouse Hobbs. People think he's been buried because he lost the world title match. He's not been buried at all. He was never going to win anyway, but he got a big win. Now we see what his follow-up is, where his direction goes next. Will he stay in the world title picture, or will he now focus on helping the likes of Copeland and all that just destroy and remove the Death Riders? That's the main question. For next week as well, just for updates, everybody, we will on Wednesday have a segment between Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega because they're going to have words. I think we pretty much called it. We know what it's going to be. It's going to be them going after Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher at some point. We can see it's coming. I'm alright with that. I've got no problem with that. That'll be a good segment. I think Matthew was right to say that SmackDown was a decent show. I agree. I think Collision was stronger, but not by much. But it was better than last week. My only criticisms, though, is for both products. One is pick your moments wisely for who you're presenting on your shows. And two, all the comedy crap that nobody wants to see, cut them from your products. And then people will enjoy the rest of the show. That's my big thing. But what did you think of the main event, and what's your overall take on both shows? Is like your after going through the fact that we've went 2 hours and 42 minutes so far, how would you evaluate both shows now that we've went through them in
I
that
enjoyed.
sense?
Whoa! Oh, I'm watching football. Sorry. I enjoyed.
That's right. Who's playing? Is it the Rams game?
Yes, the Rams and Eagles. I enjoyed the main event. You know, everybody's sitting on it before the match even happened. Was kind of hilarious, but it kind of fit the story that they're going for. And I get everybody's just sick of Jericho being on their TV.
Oh, massively.
But there's something back. There's a backstory that we don't know about on why Jericho is always on TV. I don't know if it's in his contract.
Oh, it's got to be.
Whatever. But there's got to be something on why this man is on TV as much.
Mm-hmm.
I like chaos in my wrestling, so this 12-man match was great. Hobbs getting the pin, and he got the pin over Brian Keith, which I think could be setting them two up for a feud.
That's a possibility. I'm not
and
so keen on
I might not even be mad
Keith.
about that. I might even enjoy that.
Yeah, I would as well. I'm not overly keen on him. I'm not keen on Brian Keith. He doesn't have it for me. And to be honest, ever since last night, the comments by Matthew as well saying he looks like Bumblebee, that absolutely had me in the water because I think that's him. Like, I can't take him seriously now. But my increase our camera size for this comment. I physically cannot grasp what Brian Keith is supposed to be. Like, what is his game? What is he supposed to be? Is he meant to be like part of the group, like the worker, or has he got something else to him? Like, I physically cannot identify it, so I don't know.
Agree with that. And I think that's a lot of the issue fans have with him because you don't really know what his gimmick is. Is he a poncho? Is he cowboy? Is he half luchador?
Is he just some friend?
Yeah. He's just the guy next door you picked up because you need backup.
It doesn't make sense.
It don't, but like I said, if they're gonna put Hobbs in a feud with him, I'm interested to see where it goes. Because believe it or not, I think Hobbs could, small chance, elevate Brian Keith.
Possibly. James says, I didn't mind the main event that much. There was so much social media whinging about this one. Because they're like, well, why should Jericho team with Moxley? Because it's one of the most violent feuds in AEW history. Because it actually makes sense. Like, Jericho teaming with the guy that he's had one of the most violent feuds with in the company's history, both as a faction or as a single, it makes sense because it makes him. It prevents Jericho from being one thing to the Death Riders. Eventually, he will be. For the time being, it prevents Chris Jericho and the Learning Tree from being a target.
Mm-hmm.
It protects the Learning Tree from being a target. It lets them go after whoever they want without having to look over their shoulders, because Wheeler Yuta, not really, Pac, Claudio, and Moxley and Marina Shafir are going to go after them. Eventually, however, they will.
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody is a threat to the Death Riders. They're just biding their time. But it's such a monumental feud. Yeah, it was. But a feud has elements. It'll come back to it. Chris Jericho's demise in AEW is literally because of the Death Riders. It's coming. Jericho will not be there long. I think this is Jericho's last year. I
do believe this is his last contract.
They've got nothing for him after this. He can't reinvent himself any other way after this.
If he re-signs the contract with AEW, I don't think it will be as a performer.
It'll be as a backstage or as a comms or something, or an agent.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Chris Jericho is a head of creative, like, in a smart way, works. Provided he doesn't do anything over the top. But if he does something just strategic in terms of like improving the product, he's great for that. Like, Chris Jericho has done some great stuff, but now it's about being clever. My favorite
Chris Jericho was the list. When he'd walk around and go, "You just made the list."
That was great. I liked his WCW run, like '98 when he was Cruiserweight champion. I liked that. I liked when he would start dressing in suits, and when he was world champion, he declared himself like the Nick Bockwinkel of the 21st century, which was really cool. The list stuff was fun, but I liked when he went to New Japan, reinvented himself as the Painmaker, and then I liked his first couple of years up till the Sins of Jericho, when he was reinventing the Painmaker and he was Le Champion.
Mm-hmm.
After that, I've got no interest. I don't like this Learning Tree bollocks. It's hurting his legacy more than anything else. Like, he shouldn't be wrestling in trunks anymore. Anyway, let's be real. But he should be back. He doesn't need to really package himself. Just go back to what he was before. Just be more cynical again. That's all I'm asking for. But it's a phased out method for him. But one thing is for sure, this channel is not phased out. That's 100%. And it has been 2 hours, 49 minutes of a masterclass. And I have had fun. Guys in the chat, thank you so much. Maria, I will say gracefully, I never once expected your name to appear on my channel.
That was shock.
Not that I'm saying you're not welcome, by the way. Also, Matthew's just messaged me. Thank you very much. He just says, I left the show running to get you the hours. But he's in the field working. Thank you. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. To everyone that's been in the chat today, Matthew, Maria, Abu, the guy, loves his Mexican wrestlers. I'll give him that. We had someone with the name of Scott Steiner, which is excellent. Jack, by the way, over on Twitch, appeared earlier on. Fletch was here now and again. Thank you for that. You guys were fun. I appreciate your input tonight. It's been great. I've always liked Jericho's work, but in recent years it's not got me interested. Still a fan of his band.
Oh, I love me some Fozzy music. Fozzy, I will say, Fozzy music has helped me write a lot of papers between my master's and my PhD degrees.
It has a way to it. It's mad. It has a mad way to it. Guys,
and it's been almost like 20-some years since I had to pull an all-nighter, and I had to pull an all-nighter writing my master's paper. And I was like, yeah, Fozzy's going on the Alexa.
Rightly so. Guys, I will be back tomorrow because obviously, like I do, I've got a schedule. I've literally got a schedule now for the channel that's all fun and games. I'll be live tomorrow because I will be reviewing TNA Genesis. We're going to see how that goes. That pay-per-view does look good. Go check it out. And just mute the TV when Ash by Elegance is on, and tell me, then I'll know that you've made me proud. Otherwise, enjoy it. This has been a great one. Check out the Mid Podcast, obviously Catherine's channel. Check out Graphs TV. Check out Covalent TV. These are other great channels. I showed you earlier on TH14 if you just want to watch old or current wrestling feuds in the story format. If you want to see all that classic stuff, check that channel out as well. But in the meantime, we are going to be signing off. We're going to have some fun. I'm going to go chill. Catherine's going to go and
work on my paper for my PhD.
That too, until Brendan to get out of the house. But in the meantime, we're going to run, we're going to jump, and I'm going to say good night.